Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first live English transmission of the Taiwan KOM Challenge. This is the Taiwan KOM Challenge 2017.
Okay.
Right now,
so are you nervous for this?
Cadel Evans,
yeah, it's my first road race in over 2 years.
one of the Starlight riders.
Yeah, it's very hard. So just try your very best, and I will wait for you at the finish. Okay, I will cheer you up. Everybody, now how do you feel right now?
Yesterday he drove over the mountain.
Everything here. Are you ready for this? Defending
Got an
champion.
idea of just what's in store. There we can see Emma Pooley.
Yeah, thank you.
from the
Okay,
United
we are
Kingdom.
looking forward.
Former world
好，现
champion
在为大家来
in
介绍
Taiwan,
2016年的这个
medalist.
冠
She's the
军
defending
，the
champion
last year the champion of last year,
There we have
2016, Oscar, right?
Oscar won
Yes.
the event
So how
last
do you
year
feel
as
right
well,
now?
the men's edition. The very fine ride.
Sleepy. Okay.
Everyone's
so
down there
sleep well
enjoying
last
the good
night.
weather.
Yeah, I sleep very well, and yeah, I'm so excited to do this race because it's a special race.
At the moment, we're seated up at the top of the mountain at 3,275 meters.
The hardest race
We've been
I did,
blessed with a
and
fantastic day
for me
today.
it's super special.
The sun's shining.
Oh,
There's
super
barely a
special. I
cloud in
like
the
your
sky.
beard. Okay,
It's
and
great.
you? Okay,
Preceding
2015,
10 days
the
we've had
champion
torrential
is
rainfall, so
David.
this is
Yeah,
excellent.
David.
There we have John Epson.
John? Sorry, John.
from Denmark.
Okay.
John is a
just
two-time winner
what you're feeling right now
of
with everybody?
this event.
It's going to be a good race. This is going to be my last
Great
race.
climber.
Yeah.
Tiring out this race, so
He told me yesterday that he's not in great
Your
condition
last
because
race?
he's decided
Oh, really?
to focus more on business, but
Do
he'd
you
be very
set
surprised
up
if
the
John
goal
has
about the time?
turned up
Just doing it for
this year
fun, following
in good shape and looking to
Okay, just better. Better
John won
for
the event
before,
in
better than
2012
before. Yeah,
and
okay, try your best.
2015. There's the riders on the start line. You can see Vincenzo Nibali next to Cadel Evans. There we have the various dignitaries and the people from the Taiwan Cyclist Federation setting them off on this epic challenge. Starting at sea level in Hualien, a beautiful coastal town on the eastern side of Taiwan. We go from there, literally from 0 meters right by the beach and the ocean. It's 20 kilometers of the neutral zone. You can see that the wind was blowing quite fierce today. Fortunately, up at the top of the mountain, it's very calm. After 20 kilometers, they turn left and they head into Taroko Gorge, the Taroko National Park. From there, it's more or less all uphill, apart from one 4-kilometer section, which comes at 84.8k. And then after that, at 90 kilometers, they begin the vicious ascent. Very challenging indeed. Up to the top at Hualien San at 3,275 meters. There's the riders just going through the neutral zone. Everyone keeping it safe. This year we have a field of almost 600 riders. This is the second year that the Taiwan Cyclist Federation and the KOM Challenge has had more foreign riders than local Taiwanese riders. Quite remarkable. I think that's an indicator of just how well known this race has become. It's really become kind of a bucket list event for many riders, and the word is spreading around the world that this is really an event to take part in and to challenge yourself to do. Of course, the Taiwan KOM Challenge, we have 2 sportif versions known as the Road to KOM earlier in the year. We have one in spring and one in summer. That's a 9-hour cutoff, so it's a much more relaxed event. The Taiwan KOM Challenge proper, which is really a race, that has a cutoff of 6.5 hours, and the riders have to qualify to get into the event, the local riders. So a very high class field this year. With the increasing renown of the race, we have been able to attract more and more professional riders, and it really is growing. And to have Vincenzo Nibali here, of course, a Pro Tour rider at the moment still, only the 6th person to win the grand stage races in cycling, the Tour de France, the Vuelta a España and the Giro d'Italia. He comes hot off a win at the Il Lombardio Classic just 2 weeks ago, so he's in great shape. I spoke to him yesterday on the start line and at the presentation, and I asked him how he was feeling, and he feels good. He said that he feels good, and he's hoping to do well here. This year we've also seen, for the first time ever, we have equal prize money for the men and for the women. So it's 500,000 NT for both the men and the women. 500,000 NT roughly equates to about $17,000 US. So it's not a bad purse. The other thing, we spoke to Emma Pooley yesterday at the press conference, and she's thrilled about the prize money, but she also stressed that the interesting thing about this race is that the women ride the exact same course as the men, and they ride it at the same time as the men. So that's something that she found very appealing, very interesting about the race. And her participation last year and the kind things that she said about the event, how much she enjoyed it, what a great challenge it was, how hard it was indeed, has spread the word amongst more female professional cyclists. This year we have a great representation. We have Camille Delaney. She's the Ironman French national champion. We have Carly Taylor. Carly rides for Ale Cipollini Galassia team. She's a climbing specialist. She's from Australia. We have Claudia Lichtenberg, who is going to retire actually this year, and this will be her final race. So we're thrilled to have her here at the race. She's currently riding for Wiggle High Five. After this, she's going to focus on work, she told me. She rode for the Svello Test team. She rode for Orica AIS. She's from Germany. She won the Giro d'Italia Femminile in 2009. She won the Tour de l'Aude in 2009 also. So those are known as the Women's Tour de France and the Women's Giro d'Italia. And to do both of those in 1 year is remarkable. So she's definitely going to be in the mix today. She also won the La Route de France in 2014, the Giro della Toscana in 2013. So a very fine rider indeed, and she's looking in great shape. Very slim, very lithe, and she looks she's ready to go. And she told me that her legs are good. With all the riders at this year's event, apart from Emma and Oscar and John Epson, who've ridden the event before, even though you can see the parkour and you know that it's 105 kilometers, you know that it's an 85k climb, you know that for the first 75k, it's around 5 to 6%, and then you know you dip down. You know that the last 8k is very difficult, but you really have to ride this event to get a grip on exactly what it entails. There's various challenges from the KOM challenge. The main one is the distance, and the other one, of course, is the altitude. When you get to about 2,000 meters, that's when altitude starts to kick in. You start to feel short of breath. You're obviously becoming more tired because you're using more energy. You can start to feel colder as well. And then as you dip down the 4 kilometer, the descent at 84 kilometers, from 90 kilometers upwards, you're there at 2,374 meters. So that's when the altitude is really starting to kick in, and that's when the race becomes is at its hardest because of the steepness in that last 8 kilometers. There's a long section that is 13%, which is difficult enough, and there's a section of about 1 kilometer at 27.3%, and the final kilometer is daunting. From 2 kilometers to go, you dip down for 1 kilometer, quite a technical descent, quite fast. You have to be careful there because there's quite a few parked cars. And then you have that last kilometer, which is really testing, really difficult. You can see the finish line, but it can take anything from 4 to 8 minutes to get at that last kilometer. So it really is a difficult final push. On the women's side of things, we've also got this year Emma Pooley, of course, who's the defending champion. We also have Eri Yonanime from Japan. She is the 3-time national road race champion of Japan. She's the 3-time national time trial champion of Japan. She is currently riding for FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine Futuroscope in France. 26 years old. She's won the event twice. She won the event in 2013 and 2015, and she was second as well in 2014 to Marge Vedina of Canada. Marge is also here at the race. She's another rider that's obviously done the race before and will be looking to repeat her win. Marge is really an adventurer. She loves to ride the bike, and she likes to do long distances, big, grueling events. In 2006, she won the infamous 3-day mountain bike race across Costa Rica, La Ruta de los Conquistador. So she's definitely got the stamina, and she knows this climb, which is a great advantage. So yeah, it's been really great to get more and more women to come. We're really hoping that this year will begin really an even greater increase in the number of women applying to ride the race. We're very keen at the Taiwan Cyclist Federation and the Taiwan Tourism Bureau, which helps to promote this event, to involve more and more women in the sport. And it really is something that we're working hard to do. On the men's side of things, in the field this year, of course, we have Cadel Evans, Vincenzo Nibali. We also have Phil Gaiman. Phil's a former World Tour professional. He's an author. He's written a couple of books. He rode for Cannondale Drapac in 2016. His major wins were the Redlands Bicycle Classic in 2012 and 2015. He's also known as the Cookie Monster. He professed his love of cookies a few years ago, and now everywhere he goes, people always give him cookies. And he was actually giving out cookies to the other riders the other day at breakfast. So quite a generous chap as well. And he's become also a bit of a Strava monster. So I believe that one of the titles of one of his books is "The Worst Retirement Ever." I think that's because he couldn't give up the bike. The love of the bike drew him back, and then he started to just go out and climb. He realized that he would only hold his form for a couple more years, so he started to challenge the KOMs in his area. And he loosely refers to himself as a professional hill climber. So this is definitely an event that he'll be looking to do well in. He's turned up. He's looking in great shape. He's keeping his cards close to his chest as to his chances, but I can see the fire in his eyes, and I do think he's going to be up there at the end. So that'll be very interesting to see. Very interesting event this year to have Vincenzo Nibali here with two former World Pro Tour riders, with Cadel Evans and Phil Gaiman. It's quite unusual to have a current World Tour rider being able to ride against former World Tour riders. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Cadel Evans, of course, doesn't really need any introduction, but we'll give him one anyway. He's currently the ambassador for BMC Racing. He's traveling the world, spreading the word about BMC. He also told me that since his retirement, he's become more and more involved in the manufacturing side of the BMC frames. Which is one of the reasons he came to Taiwan, to learn more about the industry. He's currently riding. BMC have made him a special bike because this isn't a UCI race. There is no weight limit on the bike. So Cadel Evans and BMC got together to engineer a bike, and the bike that he is riding today is around 5.6 kilograms. And on the Taiwan KOM Facebook page, there's a great video there which was made by the BMC video chap, and Cadel was saying that this is the first time in his career that he's ever actually measured out his equipment to be sure that it's as light as possible. So I believe when he was racing, of course his bike would have been around 6.8 kilograms, which is the UCI weight limit. But yeah, he's here on a 5.4 kilogram bike, so trying to eke out everything he can from his bike. I think he told me on the start line, just to remind everybody that actually he has been retired for 2 years. He made the comment that Nibali has just won the Lombardia, so he's going to be in great shape. But I think Cadel still has some good form. He's riding less, about half of what he used to when he was riding professionally. But I've heard that he's been training quite hard to do well this event, so it'll be great to see how he goes. And we wish him all the best. And of course, Vincenzo Nibali, regarded as one of the greatest stage race riders of his generation. And he's here to race. One of the quotes that I picked up off the internet was Nibali saying, "It's very simple. When I put the number on my jersey, I want to win. If I put the numbers on my jersey, I go." So I think he's aiming for the win here. When we announced that Nibali was coming, we received some comments on the Facebook page asking us, is he really here to ride, really here to race? And I can definitely tell you that he is. He's not known as the Shark for nothing, so he'll be here hunting for the win. Currently he's riding, of course, for Bahrain Merida. He's classified as an all-rounder. He also excels, of course, in the one-day races. He does very well in one-day races, even though he's more technically gifted and suited to ride stage races. He's a fantastic climber, as we've seen. He's also, of course, one of the best descenders in the peloton. And although this is the Taiwan KOM Challenge, there is a lot of uphill. There is a 4 kilometer descent, quite a tricky descent, quite wet, quite winding, from 84.8k, which descends to 89.1. And then you have the ascent, which is the last 8 kilometers. As I mentioned before, from 2 kilometers to go, we have that 1 kilometer downhill, which is really quite twisty, technical. There's a tight right-hand corner at the bottom. And from there, there's not really much of a run-up. You're immediately hitting about 15 to 16%. So if you can get 10 to 15 meters on that descent, you can keep that all the way. And I remember when a couple of years ago, when John Epson lost, it was because he lost about 5 to 10 meters in that last final stretch, and he just could not get it back up that spot. So here we are, images of the riders. As you can see, with 8.9k, they've been riding for 37 minutes. That's on the neutral zone, all the way to the beginning of Taroko Gorge. Everyone's quite calm now. Calm before the storm, as they say. Taroko Gorge has been a national park. It was established in 1937. The road was actually built by the Taiwanese army, a lot of the ex-soldiers who had come over here with Chiang Kai-shek. There were actually quite a few lives lost, very sadly, to build this road. It was quite an engineering project. The name Taroko actually means, well, there's two meanings. There's two meanings given to it. One of them is magnificent and splendid, which it certainly is, with its beautiful cliffs and its flowing river. It also means human being in the Truku language, and Truku actually translates to Taroko. It's quite nice to think of this mountain as being a living thing, as being a human being, something breathing and organic, which it certainly is. The riders pass through it, and the riders, it's fantastic to see the riders going through this beautiful landscape. That the organism of the peloton, the dynamism of the peloton, sort of bringing even more life to this beautiful area. And there they are, the riders going over the bridge. This final bridge leads them to the left turn, and just a few kilometers after that, they're going to start there. As you can see, it's a beautiful day here in Hualien. Very windy at the bottom, almost a mini hurricane, blowing quite stiff winds. But once the riders turn on that left turn, they will be wind free. Hualien is quite a small town, quite a small, quiet town. Taiwan is really an island of two halves. On the western side, you have quite a lot of industry. There's flat plains where there's a lot of farming. That's where most of the population of the island live. There's major highways there and high-speed trains. Actually, the Japanese-style bullet trains. The railway lines are on the west coast. Of course, Taipei is in the north. In the west, you have Taichung, one of the main industrial areas where a lot of the bicycle companies are. A lot of manufacturing goes on. Kaohsiung, down in the south, another heavily populated area. But the eastern coast of Taiwan, there is only one road, partly because the communities here have always been traditionally smaller, but also because this area is so mountainous that it's very, very difficult to make any sort of a highway, so it's a one-lane road for most of the way down. There's very little industry on this side of the coast, and it just lends itself to fantastic cycling. And there you can see we've started. They have started. This, of course, is an earlier footage. The riders started at 6 o'clock. Early from the off, we have an early hopeful attack, I'd call it. Not quite sure who's composing the little breakaway. There's often an urge in this event to set off a little bit too hard at the beginning, and you have to be a very strong rider to be able to put in these kind of a big effort at the bottom and to be there at the very end. But certainly for whoever's in that break there, they've got some footage on TV, which I'm sure they'll be happy about. So it looks there, we can see Phil Gaiman just there on the right in his Cookie Monster kit. So some early action. As far as making it the back of the race, it seems. Some local Taiwanese riders enjoying themselves. Ahead of them. There's the riders going through the tunnels. Of course, there are many tunnels due to the geographical formation. Taroko Gorge is made up of a lot of marble, mostly marble cliffs, some of them rising to 1 kilometer, often separated by just an inch where the water and the winds have come through them. It lends itself to some truly stunning scenery. Great to ride through, absolutely beautiful. The tunnels are quite tricky. Sometimes they can be quite wet. We've certainly had a lot of rain. We drove through it earlier on the way up here. There are some quite large puddles. As you can see, this tunnel is quite well lit. But all the riders are required to have a front light and a back light, as some of the older tunnels further up really are quite dark. There's the route map. You can see the straight section where the riders have completed the neutral and they're on their way up the gorge. So the Taiwan KOM Challenge has been, it's a sort of a race of two halves almost. It's 8 years old actually, and it was run with another sponsor for 2 years. And from 6 years ago, the Taiwan Tourism Bureau became involved with the Taiwan Cyclist Federation. The Taiwan Tourism Bureau realized that the geography and landscape of Taiwan, the weather, many reasons, such as the ease of connecting with flights from other parts in Asia to come here, lent itself to attracting foreign tourists, foreign cyclists. The Taiwan KOM Challenge is part of the Taiwan Cycling Festival, which runs all year. It's a series of about 12 events. We have the Tour de East Taiwan, which is a 2-day stage race, open to elite amateurs. That's run earlier in the year. We of course have the 2 Taiwan KOM Sportive challenges, the Road to Taiwan KOM, and several other events dotted through the year. And from 5 years ago, we really have seen a great increase in the number of foreign cyclists that come over here. It's really become an alternative hub. A lot of cyclists go and train in, Asian cyclists go to train in Thailand in the winter, but Taiwan is increasingly becoming their destination of choice. It's a fantastic culture, fantastic food, and it's one of those places in Asia where you may not think of coming to first. Thailand springs to mind, or Vietnam, or Cambodia, but Taiwan really is the hidden gem of Asia. And a lot of the athletes that come here, a lot of the journalists that come here that have never been here before, they express to me their amazement at how friendly the people are, how fantastic the riding is, how lovely the food is. So it's definitely a destination that is growing in popularity, and it's become quite trendy. If you read a lot of travel websites and travel magazines, the sort of top 10 new and buzzing destinations to come to, Taiwan's often in the top 10. They're a very safe country also. It's really great to travel around. So there's the climb details, the infamous map. The riders will have been pouring over. Of course, we should mention as well that we have, as well as the Pro Tour rider Vincenzo Nibali, we also have a Pro Tour rider from Taiwan, Fan Changkai. Fan Changkai is a famous and much loved and much respected cyclist over here in Taiwan. He is the strongest rider ever to come out of Taiwan. I've actually raced against him many times myself, and he always beat me. He's also racing for Bahrain Merida. He's been with them for 2 years now, so he's the first Taiwanese cyclist to move to a Pro Tour team. And Taiwan is certainly very proud of him. I think we'll see where we move to. It looks like it could be him actually. The screen that we have here is very dark and it's quite difficult to see. But that looks like Fan Changkai. Great timing. And that also looks like Emma Pooley just behind him, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting. I'm not sure exactly quite where they are on the parkour, but that was Fan Changkai, I do believe. And Emma Pooley on his wheel. So Emma Pooley perhaps striking out early. And although Emma has been retired now for a while from road racing, she really is one of the most versatile athletes out there, and quite possibly she might be the most talented multi-sport endurance rider athlete around. Actually, after she finished road racing, she decided to move into marathons. Of course, she started winning marathons, and then she moved into triathlons, and she started winning triathlons, and then she moved into biathlon recently. She's the currently consecutive four-time powerman duathlon world champion. So she's had quite a few victories this year as well. She won the European powerman world championships earlier this year, and last month she won the world powerman championships for the fourth time. And she's much feared, actually. Still, I spoke to the current professionals, Claudia Taylor and Claudia Lichtenberg, and when I mentioned Emma's chances, they both said, yeah, of course. She's quite a monster on the bike. She's lovely off it, absolutely unassuming and very humble. But when she's on the bike, she really is a very, very fierce competitor, a very honest rider too. So there, this looks like this is a leading four. Again, I do apologise for not having the information of where these riders are on the parkour. I'm not receiving this information currently, but I will do my best to get that to you. There in the background you can see the rather formidable gorge. It really is very impressive. One of the most beautiful landscapes certainly I've ever ridden up. I prefer not to drive, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And there you go, you can see the majesty. absolutely beautiful. The riders, of course, don't have much time to look up and take in the beauty. Certainly not up front, they'll be riding full gas. For the professionals, excuse me, for the professionals, the first 75k or so of the actual climb are manageable. It's quite long, of course, but at about 5% average, you'll find that most of it will be done in the big chain ring at the front. Of course, most of the riders, if not all of them, are riding compact with about a 32 at the back, a 28 or a 32 at the back, which certainly helps. You definitely need that at the end, but they can turn over the big chain ring on the way up the hill. And as they're riding in the pack, and of course they have to focus, they don't have much time to pick up, they won't be taking selfies, that's for sure. Some of the riders further down might just stop here and there and take a photo just for the Instagram or the old Facebook, but the guys at the front certainly won't have time to do that. So yeah, Fan Kai, he made the move over to Europe for Lampe Merida. Of course, Merida is a Taiwanese brand, and he's done very well. He's held his own. It wasn't one of those cases where he was gifted a position because he was Taiwanese and Merida were a Taiwanese company. They were sponsoring Lampe. He really is a fantastic rider, great talent, a very intelligent rider as well. Trains hard. He does everything right. We've seen in the past few years a rise in very good Taiwanese riders. I think more so from Asia, more so from Japan, the riders have encouraged to make the move and to go over to Europe themselves when they're young and try their luck with the French amateur teams. Of course, Arashiro is a good example of that kind of rider. Eri Yonanime, who's here today, also she made the move herself, which is it's a brave move if you're from such a different culture and you're on your own. And I think what Fan Kai has done, his nickname by the way is Akai. What Akai has done is he's really blazing a trail for the up and coming Taiwanese riders. So if we can see more and more riders going over there, that would be fantastic. They certainly have the mountains to train on over here. No excuses there. That would be great to see. Also here this year, we're very fortunate to have Global Cycling Network. We've actually been working with Global Cycling Network for about 2 years to bring them over. Various logistical problems just sort of got in the way. But this year we brought them over. It's fantastic to have these guys over here. Not only are they actually lovely blokes, it's Matt Stevens is here, one of the main presenters, and also Simon Richardson. But not only are they actually very nice chaps, but the reach of their social media is fantastic for an event like this. We've been working solidly and consistently to get the word out, inviting professionals over here, inviting foreign journalists over here, and they do very well to go away and to write articles and to spread the word. But GCN is a real coup for us, so we're very pleased to have them here with us. They've been mentioning us a few times in the before the build-up to the KOM. I was actually speaking to Matt yesterday on the podium. On the stage, the final presentation in front of the riders meeting. And I asked him how he heard about the KOM and why he wanted to come. And he told me that it had kind of been on the cards to come to the KOM for a couple of years, 2.5 years, and that he and Simon had been secretly, quietly pushing to come because they just really they loved the sound of the event. They wanted to try their hand at it, and they wanted to see if they were up for the challenge. So we'll see how they do today. They're also riding specially made very light bikes, so we'll see how they go. Yeah, of course, Matt Stevens, he's not here either for a holiday. A very successful junior rider, the national road race champion in 1998. So he'll be here to stay with us. Here we are back in live coverage. There we have rider number 5. It's John Epson. John Epson making an early move. So, as mentioned earlier, John Epson, 2-time winner of the event, who told me yesterday at the riders' presentation that he wasn't riding anymore and he was just here for enjoyment. I actually told him that I know him as I've raced with him as well. I raced against him. I know him also to be a very, very strong competitor and extremely competitive actually, which of course is always a professional cyclist. Without that, you wouldn't be very much good at sport. But he's a great climber. He's a very, very dedicated trainer. He watches what he eats. He watches his weight, and you know he's ridden this event now. I think it's 4 times. He's won it twice. He's second once. I actually told him that if he decided to go easy today, I'd have to see it to believe it. So I think I've been proven right because here he is in time in front of the race. So, John Epson, this is the first time he's used this tactic. And all the other times he's ridden the event, he has sat in the main leading group and he's bided his time, waiting for the steep section because that really is his forte. But it looks perhaps it's a ploy to get the other guys to chase and to get a bit of TV time. But if knowing John, he'll be out there and he'll be hoping to make a stick. So let's see how it goes. You can see they're very fluid style. As I mentioned before, although this is not particularly steep, the riders do put it into a big gear, and they really do use all of their body to get those pedals turning. John's normally very fluid, but you can see there he's really pulling it in for him. There we have the followers. These will be the chasers. I'm afraid I'm not receiving any time gaps. I do apologize about that. We're having a problem with the communications. But they seem... I would assume here that they're probably going to be content just to let John build up a lead before they start to think about reeling him in. Quite a big group there, as you can see. There you can see Nibali in his red kit. Nibali, of course, is actually joined here by his brother. So we have Antonio Nibali here as well. And a couple of other riders from Bahrain Merida. So he's not lacking teammates, Nibali. Whether they'll factor in the race later on, we'll have to see. And of course, as mentioned, we have GCN here, so we have Matt Stevens, also Simon Richardson. So, Simon Richardson, a retired cyclist now, of course, he's one of the main presenters for GCN, the world's most famous and most popular cycling video channel. Simon won the overall title in the 2009 FDB Insurance Race whilst riding for the Rafa Condor team. So, also a very good rider and a good climber, and we'll see how they go. I think there's a little bit of competition between those two today. Actually, they were kind of joking around the other day as to who would finish highest up the rankings. So we'll have to see how they go. Another interesting rider we have here is Freddy Ovett. Freddy Ovett is riding this year for the Pro Continental Squad Kaya Rural Seguros, which is the feeder team for the Rural Seguros team. Of course, he was a promising runner, and he was got a scholarship to the University of Oregon, and then he started cycling. due to an injury. He was riding for the AG2R feeder team for a while, and he's known as being a very good climber. And interestingly about Freddy Ovett, his father, of course, is well, not of course, but some of you may not know, but his father is Steve Ovett. Steve Ovett was one of the most successful middle distance runners ever produced by Great Britain. He won the Olympic gold medal in the 800 meters in Moscow in 1980, won the European Championships, gold medal in Prague in 1978 in the 1500 meters. So Freddy's father is very well known, and I'm sure Freddy will be hoping to follow in his father's footsteps and get some victories of his own. So good luck to Freddy as well today. So sitting up here at the top of the mountain, absolutely glorious blue skies in front of us. From where I'm sat, I can see them setting up the finish line. The finish banner is already up. They're just setting up the tables and the finishers' medals. We will have about 1,000 people up here by the time the front guys get in, so they'll be cheering everybody on. And of course, some of the riders will be coming in. I do believe last year the finisher's time, Oscar Priol's finishing time was 3:45, which is phenomenally quick. And once he's sort of had his after-race meal, done his interviews, got his trophies, and got down to his team car, there will be other riders still coming in. So we do have the 6-hour cutoff. So after that, the riders will have to jump into the broom wagon. Hopefully not too many. But we wish them all the best today. There we are. We have coverage back again of the race. The riders there at 64.3 kilometers. 64.3 kilometers. That is coming through the Henshan Tunnel. Moving on to Shimbayang, one of the feeding zones. So we have 4 feeding stones at the KOM this year, where the riders can pick up supplies. Jane pulleys named up on the screen. Can't quite see it. And the pulley is sponsored this year by Bond Bikes, Sense Composites, and NGI. And there we have John Epson. Looks like he's still on his own up in front. I have a feeling that with Epson being in front, the other riders knowing what a great climber he is, and he has got the experience on the mountain, and he has won twice. They may not be content to let him go too much in the lead, so we might see a push to bring him back at some point, sooner rather than later, I would suspect. Conditions here really absolutely perfect. We could not have asked for better weather. Past 3 years actually, this year, the past 2 years have been absolutely fantastic. Very warm. 4 years ago we had torrential rain. It was already cold at the bottom, which you know, if it's cold at the bottom of the climb, it's going to be even colder at the top, especially when you're going up to 3,275 meters. We had some people that were turning blue on the top of it that year. I remember that was the year Nicole Cook did it. And Nicole Cook is always a very polite and really a lovely person. She had a choice word to say to me in the end. And afterwards speaking to Nicole, and actually Emma Police said the same thing last year. And of course, these are 2 riders that have competed in some of the world's toughest events. They've really the world's toughest mountains. They've raced in the World Championships and in the Olympics as well. And They both told me that this was the hardest one-day event they've ever done in their lives. So that gives you some idea of the scale of the challenge facing the guys today, and indeed facing everyone that ever rides on this hill. Of course, we have the 3 events. We have the Road to KOM Challenge in spring. We have the Road to KOM Challenge version in December, and later on in the summer with that 9-hour cut-off. And we have the KOM Challenge proper, which of course is the race version today. But you can come here on any day of the year and you will see cyclists all up and down the mountain challenging themselves to get up the hill. So it's not just that people come here and they do the events. People set off from all corners of the world and ride up here to achieve that feeling that only riding a climb such as this can bring. Cycling, of course, is a sport that's defined by riding with your friends, riding through beautiful landscapes, but also by challenging yourself and putting yourself to the extremes that your body and your mind can go through. And really that sort of epic nature of going out and doing something crazy like an Everest or riding 400 kilometers one day. And the Taiwan KOM Challenge really does bring all of those elements together. Absolutely gorgeous in the gorge, riding with all these people from around the world that you get to speak to and meet in the preceding days. Of course, getting to ride with some of the top professionals in the world, and then to face such what is truly a brutal climb at the end, and to get that finisher's medal, it really is a fantastic achievement. It's definitely should be on every rider's bucket list. So we're having a few problems, it seems, here with the camera and the Wi-Fi and the system. The reason for that being that it is so mountainous in the gorge that Wi-Fi reception is quite tricky, so it's very patchy, so please do stick with us. But there we are, we're back with the race. This is the chasing group. As you can see, still very large. John Epson is up in the front. I will do my best to get time checks for you. As I said, we are having some technical difficulties. This is the first time we've ever had the live coverage. So although it's not quite a test run, we may have some teething difficulties. So just stick with us. We have some riders already dropping off the back due to the pace. Three riders there that I do apologize, I can't quite make out on my monitor. But definitely 3 riders from the same team that are pushing the pace. I will do my best to get their numbers for you. It certainly helps to come to this event and to have teammates. Traditionally, until actually 2 years ago, the riders would come in ones or as a pair. So there wasn't much tactical advantage in having 2 riders. A little bit more than having one, obviously, but it depended on the strength of your teammate. But 3 years ago we saw a change due to the popularity of the race and the increase in the prize money. We had 3 continental teams that brought between 5 and 6 riders, and that can make a big difference in a race like this because you can send one rider off early to push the pace up at the front. The other guys can then sit in the pack while the others have to worry about pacing to make sure they catch the guys up front in time. You can have a teammate to ride up the road and get you water bottles and get your food, and then as you catch up, you can get your water and your food off him. So it certainly helps to have teammates. We'll see what happens with these 3 riders at the front. There may be another protected rider in the group, not quite sure yet. Next year it would be great to see some of the women's teams coming over, some of the women's pro teams coming over in riders of 3 and 4, groups of 3 and 4. That would be fantastic. That's certainly the aim of the KOM. With the increase in the prize money, I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe that we must be one of the first. The Taiwan KOM must be one of the first races, first events in Asia to have equal prize money. And at around $17,000 US, it's certainly not a small pot. So definitely there to encourage more female riders to come. So you're looking there at a scene that is the top of Hualien San, where we currently are here doing the commentary and awaiting the riders. Expecting the riders to arrive in about an hour. About an hour and a half. They should be on their way up that hill. Cadel Evans, as I mentioned, he was at the Taichung Bike Week a couple of days ago, and he drove over the mountain yesterday early morning. He had a fantastic view up here. It was just like it is today, beautiful blue skies. If you go and check out the Taiwan KOM Facebook page, you can see the video that the DMC filmmaker made, and Cadel's up at the top, and actually what he says is that he's not quite sure if he's ever seen mountains quite as beautiful as up here at the top at Hualien San, which is an amazing thing to say for someone who's ridden up most of the beautiful mountains in the world. It certainly is unique, Taiwan. If you look at Taiwan on Google Earth, you'll see that it's essentially one giant ridge. There are 300 peaks here over 3,000 meters. Hualien San is the highest passable route. In the winter, the temperature drops considerably here, and as you look down on Wuling Mountain, that's known as snowland because of the amount of snow that people get here. So a lot of people that live in Taiwan, because of the hot climate, and even in the lowlands in the winter, it's still about 15 degrees. A lot of people will never see snow. So it's often a fun trip for Taiwanese people to drive up here, make a few snowballs, see snow for the first time in their lives, have some lunch, and then drive back home. So although Taiwan doesn't really have the sort of European seasons from spring to autumn, from summer to autumn, sorry, and to spring to summer, if you drive up here in the winter, you can see the winter wonderland. It's quite beautiful. Another rider that's kind of slipped under the radar with having such high profile riders such as Cadel Evans, Phil Gaiman, and Richardson here this year, as well of course the women, Claudia Lichtenberg, Carly Taylor, Emma Pooley, is Damien Monnier. Damien is 35, he's a French rider, he's also a former Pro Tour rider. He rode with Kofi's 2004 to 2012, and he was third a couple of years ago here when his teammate won. So he's got some good form, and he also knows the mountain as well, so he could be a bit of a dark horse for today's race. You can see there are more riders dropping off the back. That was a Bahrain Merida rider. Same three riders still pushing the pace in the front. So maybe they know something about John Epson's legs that he wasn't willing to tell me. There's the Bilu Divine Tree at 2,150 meters. Now the Bilu tree there is 3,200 years old. Quite amazing. It's one of the feed stations. Now we're actually quite high up the mountain here. The tree has a diameter of 3.5 meters. It's quite almost a holy relic here in Japan. People come out here to see it. It's a beautiful tree. The riders, of course, will probably not even notice it as they are traveling at quite some speed here. So you can see the lead cars coming through, the commissar cars. Now Bilu is at 2,150 meters and 79.4 kilometers. So we're almost at the 80-kilometer mark here. So 25k to go. 25k to go. Looks like Epson is still pushing ahead. We'll be able to see here. And we can also perhaps get a bit of a time gap to see how far ahead he is. But from Bilu Tree, we have Bilu Tunnel in 5 kilometers. So we're 20k away. We're 15k away from the summit. Just before that 4-kilometer descent that I mentioned before, that tricky descent. We do see quite a. It's quite wet, and then we have the final 8 kilometers. So we are about to heat up here. So let's wait and see if looking at the gloom here. I expect to see John Epson come through. And then, as I said, we will get some kind of an idea as to how far the group behind are. Looks like quite a large group. I'm a little bit surprised this year that the chasing pack is that large. Perhaps that's part and due to John Epson going off the front. Last year we had a similar situation where it was a group of 36 riders coming into the last 20k, which is highly unusual, because in all other editions, the front of the race was whittled down very quickly. And by that point, we'd probably have about 8 riders. Sometimes even as few as 3. I think this is indicative of the rising quality, and I don't mean to denigrate anyone else who's ever done this race before, but with riders such as Nibali coming, pro-continental riders coming, continental riders coming, climbing specialists turning up, we really have seen an improvement in the times. We've seen a real improvement in the times, of course, 3:15 as I mentioned last year for Oscar Puyol, and in the number of riders that are able to stay the distance and to be there at the end to fight it out. I'm really keen to see where we are here, as keen as you are. John Epson may well just have thrown the cat amongst the pigeons by striking out on his own. The other riders will definitely know who he is. And as I say, he's out of character for John because he's a very focused, very concentrated rider, very intelligent rider actually. And he's ridden this out of the 4 times that he's ridden this race, it was twice to perfection, and once he lost by a handful of meters. I do believe last year he was 5th. Didn't have quite a good ride last year. I believe he had a bit of a stomach problem in the days preceding the race. But it would be interesting to see what's going on. The Taiwan KOM Challenge, as I mentioned, is supported by the Taiwan Tourism Bureau. This is a government department. They're very. It was a real kicker. Well, a really great thing for the race to have the Taiwan Tourism Bureau come on board, to have the weight of a government department, and the facilities and to be able to sort of borrow their logistical sensibility. It's really helped the KOM to just grow from strength to strength, and they're very keen to promote, to work with us to make Taiwan actually a more cycling friendly nation. They recognize that there is an opportunity in Taiwan to make it the cycling destination in Asia. I'm sure that some of you know Girona in Spain, the town which over the past 20 years has become the cycling town, the cycling sort of capital of Europe, if not the world. In the old days, many riders from the northern countries, in not wanting to face their colder winters, they would head down to Girona and set themselves up there. And here we are back at the race. It looks like we've missed John Epson coming through. The riders there, as you can see, picking up the musettes. More cars coming through, hopefully not blocking the way of the riders. The number of vehicles is heavily limited, just because it is such a, it's quite a thin road. The tunnels are not wide at all as you get higher up, and we certainly don't want any traffic jams. Rider safety is paramount, of course, before everything else. One of our sponsors, DT Swiss, there's their booth. Looks like we're at, that's the Bilu Holy Tree. So, speaking to the TV company, one of the unique challenges of doing a live broadcast from this area in Taiwan is, as I mentioned before, the geology here. The cliffs are so high that it's very difficult to get signals. You can't actually fly drones here. There's very few places you can fly drones due to the updrafts caused by the cliffs and the wind coming through. It's impossible to drive a helicopter up the gorge for the same reasons. So the TV company did warn us actually that the TV coverage would be getting better and more consistent from around this point, so do bear with us. Won't all be bananas, I promise. The rider's staple there. I know many a former professional rider, myself included, who after riding has not been able to face a banana, hasn't been able to look a banana in the face, so I'll put it that way. Yeah, I've had my fill. So again, welcome. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Taiwan KOM Challenge live coverage 2017. This is the first time we've had live coverage. With a few technical difficulties. My name is Lee Rogers. I work as the communications director for the race. And not only is this the first time that we've ever done live commentary at the event, this is the first time I've ever done live commentary, so do bear with me. I'm quite the novice here. Hopefully after maybe 10 more KOMs I might get the hang of it. Let's see. So we have 600 riders, almost 600 riders this year. It's truly become an international event. We have over 30 nations represented here. With the second year running, more international riders, more foreign riders than Taiwanese. Quite remarkable. Just how popular this event and well known this event has become around the world. Here we see some riders coming up. Of course, John Epson of Denmark, a two-time winner in 2012 and 2014. He's already passed through. John is further up the road. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up with him soon with the live coverage. He's further up the road. He looked to have a minute or two's lead. Again, I'm not receiving time checks. I do apologize. Another one of the technical glitches we're facing. Behind him is a group of what looked like about 30 riders. Vincenzo Nibali was in there. I could see him for sure. Phil Gaiman was in there. Emma Pooley, I'm not sure if she was in there, but she was certainly featured earlier on. Fantastic if we have 2 or 3 of the women in there. Facing the final courses with the men. I haven't seen any footage of Cadel Evans. He's probably safely tucked away in that second group. Of course, we have the solo rider up in front, so the chase group. Here you can see, as I was mentioning just a moment ago, in the gorge you can't fly drones. It's just too dangerous for the riders. If an updraft came along or a downdraft came along and pushed. I think it actually might be illegal. It's actually illegal in many places in Taiwan to fly a drone. You have to get special permission. Due to the fact that there are military bases dotted around the island, and Hualien is one of those places. But here, looks like our camera people are using the drone. Fantastic image. Of course, with the mountain being 3,275 meters high, you start off in the tropical zone, and you rise up through the various environmental zones. And yeah, up here at the top, it's certainly not arid. There's many trees. It's just stunning all the way around. Absolutely stunning. So, just to update you with what I do know, the riders have passed through the 79.4k point. So they've gone past 80k. They went past the Bilu Holy Tree, the 3,200-year-old tree. That is at the 85-kilometer point. Now after that we have a 4-kilometer downhill. I'm sorry, a 5-kilometer downhill. Now this downhill is very tricky. Not only is it very windy, it's also usually damp because the overhanging trees don't allow the sun to come down to dry the road. And of course, because it's a descent, it gets a lot of runoff water. The other important factor about that descent is that the riders they've been riding uphill and not touching the brakes for 80 kilometers. A lot of them will be fatigued now. The elevation is starting to kick in. They're at 2,453 meters as they crest that hill. There's 2 or 3 U-turns. There's one at the very beginning, which is tricky because you're not quite ready for it, and then it's quite a sweeping descent, so you pick up speed. And then at the bottom we have a right-hander, not quite a 90-degree turn, but stiff enough to cause trouble for some riders. And that patch at the bottom there is usually wet, so we do advise the riders to be safe there. We have signs at the top saying slow down. However, of course, with a rider like Nibali in there and Cadel Evans, both excellent descenders, they might look at that as an opportunity to That's what happened last year when we had that group of about 37 riders, 38 riders. Somebody put the pedal down on the descent at that point, and they got about 30 meters, and the group was cut down to about 12, and that's the way it stayed until the final couple of kilometers. There's a lovely image of the car park. Oh, there we have a rider. So the lead group is I would say about 4 to 5 minutes ahead of that rider. So he's still riding very well, but he's certainly not in contention. Getting handed a cup of coffee, actually. have to stay fresh. So as I was saying, yes, a lovely view of the car park. Bilu tree is just to the right there. 3,200 years old. Looks Looks like a Giro d'Italia Maglia Rosa jersey there. One of the Taiwanese teams, I think. I saw a team here today. The jersey was Team Turtle. I think they might be from Hong Kong, actually. There's a rider picking up refreshments. At this point in the climb, you're in a bike race here, and you know you're in a real challenge. The altitude begins to kick in. There we go. There's Claudia Lichtenberg with a Bahrain Merida rider. That's definitely not Vincenzo Nibali. So Claudia doing very well. I'd say she's about 5 minutes down on the leader, John Epson. Possibly 3 down on the chasing group, but again, I do apologize, we don't have the time checks. I have been told that we're going to soon be reaching, the riders will soon be reaching an area from which the live stream will be more predictable, more consistent, so do bear with us. We've been at this feed zone so long, perhaps we should be handing out bananas as well. So Claudia's doing well. Again, this is her last race. We're absolutely thrilled and very honoured, actually. I've been a fan of women's cycling for several years, and to see these guys, just to have them over here for me is quite a dream. The women, of course, are very underappreciated and often unknown. They arrive at these events, and they've won the women's equivalent of the Tour de France, women's equivalent of the Giro d'Italia. They've been world champions, they've been Olympic silver medalists, Olympic champions, and nobody really recognises them. Of course, it's not the individual's fault, but it is a shame that they're not given the same accolade as the men. That's something that I think definitely needs to be changed and needs to be worked on. And personally, I feel that motivation to change needs to come from the governing body, but that's probably for another conversation. However, the Taiwan KOM is doing its bit to support women's cycling. The first year we have equal prize money, which we're thrilled about. Emma Pooley, as I mentioned before, Emma Pooley pointed out that, of course, it's fantastic to have the equal prize money, but this race is one of the very few where the women race the exact same parkour as the men. So the women challenge themselves against the men. They ride with the men in the race, and it really is a very special thing. And certainly, since what happens with riders when they come over here, and male as well as female, if you ride really well, if you win a local hill climb that might be 10 kilometers long, if you win a local criterium that might be 45 minutes long, or if you come and you win the Taiwan KOM challenge, the Taiwanese cycling community really take you to their heart, and they really respect the effort that you've put in. So yeah, to increase knowledge of women's cycling, and indeed to show that women here can race also. Over the past 8 years, Taiwan has for many years been a cycling manufacturing hub, but over the past few years, I've seen more and more cyclists. Any other country I've ever been to, actually, even Holland or Belgium. And I've actually had a Dutch teammate comment on that before. He was amazed by how many women he saw out riding. Well, of course, it's fine for them to be riding, but I know if quite a few of them do want to race, but they find it a little bit intimidating. So hopefully, seeing these women out here, you know, hanging with the men, will encourage them to get into racing and to help deepen the culture of cycling, bicycle racing here in Taiwan. There is a growing and emerging culture, and the Taiwan Cyclist Federation, who run the Taiwan KOM Challenge, they do their best to help promote it, along with the government. But it really needs to be a grassroots thing to get more and more women racing, and more juniors actually to see this crop coming through. As I mentioned before, we have Akai, Feng Chang Kai, who was the first rider to ride for a Pro Tour team, Lamprey Merida, and that he's become a beacon for Taiwan, not just Taiwanese riders actually, but for Asian riders. So if we can see the same from the women's side, that would be fantastic. So as I mentioned earlier, I have ridden this mountain 3 times. The first time I rode it, I was in pretty good shape. I was at race weight. I'm quite a big chap. Even my race weight was 74 kilograms and I'm 184. When I got off the bike that first time at the top, I actually kissed the tarmac in the car park, like the Pope getting off the plane. Just happy to have both feet back on the earth. I never thought I'd survive those last 8 kilometers. You've already done the first 78 or so. You're already pretty exhausted. The altitude's kicking in. You're not as encouraged to eat quite as much because you're climbing, so you're probably not putting enough fuel into your body. It tends to happen with most people. You really have to learn how to do that by kind of doing successive long climbs like this. You're not drinking quite as much, especially if it's damp. Because it does get cooler on the way up, so you don't have that sort of desire in your desire to satiate thirst. And you should be drinking more, of course. So all those factors come into play. And then when you get to that first stretch of tarmac with 8k to go, it rises up like Jaws, like the infamous 30-meter wave that they have off the coast in Hawaii. It is like a tsunami of concrete, of tarmac. And you get up that first 800-meter stretch. I remember thinking, this can't be possible. I was breathless. I couldn't possibly speak, but I was lost for words in any case. And then there's a couple of fairly nice corners that are quite gentle, and they just lull you into a false sense of security. You think that just maybe the parkour that we have in the book is wrong, could have been wrong. But then you go around the next corner, and the section in front of you is actually steeper than the section before. So it really is something else. And that last 8 kilometers, it's one of those ascents where you can't really decide how fast you're going to go. The gradient decides how fast you're going to go. And the only thing you can do to make it slightly less painful is to really train. You need to train really hard for it. You need to be going out and doing a 120k ride as hilly as possible, and then going to hill repeats on the steepest hill you have around, just to deal with that lactic acid, to deal with the fatigue build-up, to deal with the mental exhaustion as well. Riding, everyone thinks about the Taiwan KOM challenge and doing an event such as Everesting or riding in an event like Paris-Roubaix or any of these major epic iconic sort of events and races. Everyone thinks about the physical side of things and they overlook the mental side. Cyclists are extremely mentally tough. The guys at the very top are very tough cookies. You can't just get along with natural talent. You need to have that mental toughness in you. And there's a reason why you don't see Zen Buddhists and yoga instructors becoming bike racers, because they're very calm people. You need to have a bit of a fire in you and to be slightly off kilter to be a road racer, because it is quite a mad sport to go out and punish yourself in the way that these guys do, and to race and to have to not just battle the physical aspect of it and the weather, the cold or the extreme heat, the rain, the sleet, the snow, all the crashes that you encounter in your career. You also have to face the mental stress of it, and it is very stressful. When you're doing this kind of an event, your body is here at the feed zone. Can't quite see the number there, but he's quite a few minutes off the lead pack. But yes, going back to the mental side, people often say that cycling is either anywhere between 60 to 80% mental, and it is one of those activities where often you're urged to get off the bike by your mind or by your body, but you just have to override it. Of course, Jens Voigt was famous for his phrase "shut up legs." So when he was exhausted and the legs were screaming and didn't want to move anymore, he would just shout "shut up legs." That's a phrase that might be coming into quite a few riders' mind today. Cramp also is a very big issue in an event like this, especially on a day like this. It really is quite warm even up here at the top, and the sun will be bearing down. As I mentioned, it doesn't feel that hot when you're riding up because the altitude leads to a drop in temperature. But the riders do need to hydrate, otherwise they will start to cramp up. And if you cramp up in the early stages of the last 8 kilometers, where it rises up to that 27.3% for 800 meters, and the last kilometer, which is about 20%, if you're cramping up at the bottom of that, then you're going to be in big trouble. We do see riders every year having to get off and walk the end point. I mentioned earlier in the race when we saw the 5 or 6 guys setting off to the front, if you do set off too front in this event, it does tend up to bite you at the end. I've never seen, actually, in the history of the race in the past 8 years, no one has ever set off from the front at a gallop and been able to keep it there to the very end. So anyway, we wish them all the best. Another couple of riders coming through there. Once again, we do apologize for the lack of time gaps coming through and for the lack of live coverage of the riders. We do have live coverage of the car park, and as nice as the car park as it is, I'm sure we would all like to be seeing what's happening up at the front. But as I mentioned as well, this was discussed with us by the TV company that there would be some teething problems. This is the first time we've had live coverage, and due to the nature of the mountain, it is the reception is very patchy. So do bear with us. We're doing our best to bring it to you. So up here at the top, more cars are arriving ahead of the riders. We have the medals laid out on the tables. The TV cameras are here. And the weather's holding here. Very light breeze. Perhaps in the background you can hear our Taiwanese commentator. One thing about Asian events, and especially here in Taiwan, they have very, very good speaker systems. And at the end of an event like this, when your head is pounding, maybe one of the last things you want to use. That's kind of all part of the experience. Quite a few fans appearing now as well, turning up. Gathered here to watch the riders come in. Of course, with Vincenzo Nibali being here, and Cadel Evans and Phil Gaiman, and some of the female riders, there's a lot of interest here. A lot of people turning up with BMC jerseys and Merida jerseys and pens, hoping to get a signature. Yesterday we had the riders briefing. Now normally at the riders briefing we will interview 2 or 3 of the riders on the stage, and we have a buffet, and the rest of the riders are in the room because they need to be there to hear about the course and what they need to do and not do and all that kind of stuff, all the rules and regulations. Normally it's quite a placid affair with people just sat down and and, you know, chatting away while the various acts are on. We always have the local Aboriginal tribes doing some dancing and playing some music. There's another rider coming through, slightly slower than the front guys. More bananas on offer. Local rider there, wearing a Team Sky kit. Pretty sure that's not Chris Froome. A little bit too much body fat. So as I was saying, there's a beautiful view. So this is the leading up to the final kilometer. You can see the mist. Very beautiful, very, very photogenic area. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. Cadel Evans, who was up here 2 days ago, said that this might just be the most beautiful mountain range he's ever seen. He said actually that he's never seen mountains like it. And they certainly are sort of picture perfect, aren't they? Leading off into the background. A lot of people come up here to see the sunrise and the sunset. And certainly for the new year, they come up here to see the new year, and there can be thousands of people up here. It's beautiful hiking. Really, really gorgeous place to come for a hike. We have many, many waterfalls. There's about 9 waterfalls, I think, on the way up the KOM climb. And actually, all of that coast from Hualien up is renowned as being one of the world's, I'm not saying the world's best, but one of the world's best areas for river tracing. So there's definitely lots to do here if you're thinking of coming here for a cycling holiday. There's an aerial image of, you can see there the strip on the top of the ridge. That's where the riders come down that descent. They come down the back of that hill, and then they come up this stretch to the right of your picture. That is the beginning of the last 8 kilometers. Not last 8 kilometers. The last 2 kilometers. The last 2 kilometers. Sponsors boards there.
好，我会报告所有的资讯都在终点口门右手边的极限电子这边。
Images here of the riders coming up.
玻璃上没有贴的，请他马
Again, we're
上
not
下
at
到
the
昆阳
front,
去。
having some technical
因为我们
difficulties,
要
so
在
the
颁奖
riders
典
further
礼
down.
现在请我们工作人员协助一下。
Now, to put this into perspective, the front guys will be looking to do anywhere around, I'd be surprised if it's not under 4 hours for the whole day, for the whole ride. These guys that are coming up will be looking at about 4:45 to 5 hours. So they're riding very, very well. It's just that there are such talented riders up at the front that the speed that they're coming up makes these riders further behind look slow, but they're putting in really, really good rides. And actually, everyone that actually completes this event is a hero, or certainly worthy of high respect. But anyone that signs up for this event deserves respect, because to get on that start line and to know what you're going to face this is fantastic. A lot of people come here and they don't achieve the finish at the first time, so they come back. We've had people from Australia, people from Brazil, people from America. They come out here, the trip of a life. What is a trip of a lifetime? They're not able to finish it the first time. Might be illness, might be the altitude, variety of reasons. We see them back here the year after, or a couple of years later in some cases. So it's one of those events that really lives with you. If you can't quite manage it and don't get that medal, it'll live with you and it'll sort of gnaw away in your mind. And if you do it, and if you can complete it and you do get that medal, it's one of those shining memories in a cyclist's career. And for a lot of the amateur riders, this is like the World Championships and the Tour de France rolled into one. So it's a very special day. And thankfully, we've been blessed with this amazing weather. Absolutely perfect. So here we go. There is Emma Pooley. was Emma Pooley. Okay, that's giving me reason for hope. Okay, we're back here again at the car park at Belu Tree. Let's see if we can meet up with those riders up at the top. Now Emma Pooley, absolutely fantastic climber, absolutely fantastic endurance athlete. There she is picking up a bottle. Very composed rider, very experienced. Just digging in there, looks like she's getting some food. The riders are passing through the Ganyuan gas station feed zone, so that is at 89 kilometers. So we have 15 km to go for these guys. 15k to go.
尽量可以的话。
So let's see who else. It looks like 174. The screen's gone again. Apologies. There we go. There's the Emma Pooley group. Now, looks like she's the only female rider. I have to just double check that. I do apologize. I'm only getting the number on the screen for Emma Pooley. The other rider, I cannot quite see his or her. But this is Emma Pooley. The winner last year. She's looking to win again. She's been training hard for this. Riding there her old bike. This is a lady bike. Aluminium actually, quite interesting. Okay, I'm hearing in Chinese, my very limited Chinese, I'm hearing that Emma Pooley is the first female on the road. She is the first female on the road. So we know now who is leading the women's race. It's Emma Pooley. So Emma here looks to be pulling out another great ride. Of course, this year the quality and depth of the women has really increased. She really has an engine. She really does. One of the best climbers of her generation. Emma, speaking to Emma, last year she was really enthralled at the prospect. It was just before her first KOM, and she was absolutely enthralled at the prospect, and slightly intimidated, obviously, because of the parkour of the event, the altitude and the distance, but enthralled because the women have very, even the women pro riders, they have very, there we have Vincenzo Nibali. Okay, and that looks like, I'm hearing that Oscar, okay, we have Nibali there. Nibali is in the last 8 kilometers. Now I just heard in Chinese, Oscar, so that's Oscar Puyol and Vincenzo Nibali. I don't know where they are, I do apologize, but it looks to me, the way the camera is focusing on Vincenzo Nibali, that Vincenzo Nibali is in the lead. Vincenzo Nibali looks to be in the lead in the 2017 Gaiman Challenge. There we go. Oh, in first! Can this be right?
Hello.
592.
Which
Which kill? Come on. That seems like a time. I'm just going to double check that. Second place, Vincenzo Nibali. Third place, Oscar Puyo. Fourth, we have John Epson. Fifth, Cameron Piper, pulling out a great ride. And in sixth place, Edmund Bradbury. Let me just check if this is... I'm sorry, I don't have rider 592 highlighted. I'm quite surprised. Let's see. I'm just checking through our... I'm assuming that is a technical glitch because I am seeing no tie rider. I'm seeing no tie rider and I'm seeing number 592. I'm seeing no 592 in the book, so I do apologize for that. At 7.6k to go, they've been riding for 3 hours and 36 minutes. I do believe that Vincenzo Nibali is in the lead. Bear with me and I will double check just to be absolutely sure. Hello, I do apologize for that little break. I just popped over to the Taiwanese commentator, just to double check that there is not indeed a Thai rider at the front. It is Vincenzo Nibali of Italy, Il Lombardia winner just 2 weeks ago, obviously bringing his great form here to the Taiwan KOM Challenge. In first place. So we have Nibali in first place. I had a feeling about this before the race. I thought maybe Phil Gaiman might be here to challenge. Vincenzo Nibali in first place. I do not have a time gap, but in second place we have Oscar Puyol. Oscar Puyol is in second place. Oscar Puyol is last year's winner. I have to say, Nibali is looking very fluid there. I'm really looking forward to speaking to him afterwards to find out what he thought about this climb, because this is the longest climb that he's ever done. Interested to find out how it compares, but he's certainly putting in a stellar ride. And I believe we have 7k to go, about 7k to go. There we go, we have 7k to go. They've been riding for 3 hours and 38 minutes. Nibali there wearing the number 2. Evans, of course, was awarded the number 1. I say of course because he actually signed up earlier. Vincenzo Nibali signed up about 2 weeks afterwards. And there we are a little bit further down the hill. This is the Emma Pooley group, I do believe. Yeah, it is the Emma Pooley group. Back to Vincenzo Nibali. There you can see, even for a Pro Tour rider, you can see the effect of the steepness of these sections. With 6.9k to go, he is at the steepest section. He's just at the steepest section. He's at the 27, on his way anyway to the 27.3% section. This is now about 16-17%. So it gets really grueling up here. Really grueling. Nibali seems he has got 7k to go, about 6.8 now. 6.8, there we go. 3 hours and 40 minutes. This is the Emma Pooley group, so it's fantastic that we're focusing on the first female rider as well. Absolutely brilliant from Emma Pooley. Emma Pooley, some of you may know, most of you may not. She won the Haute Route Rockies earlier this year. She became the first woman in the history of the Haute Route Rockies to win. Well, she won the Queen stage in the women's category, but she also beat all the men. That was the first time in the history of any of the Haute Routes, and they have quite a few now. That was the first time in the history of any of the Haute Routes that a woman would ever beat all of the men. So a fantastic ride there. And here we go back to Nibali. Road is slightly. The incline is slightly lessened here.
对，这样一直交换，我才比较快。
There he's riding his Merida bike. Of course, he rides for Bahrain Merida. 6.4k to go now. And there he is back in that fluid style. Really, really fantastic for Taiwan and Taiwan KOM Challenge to see a culture riding this mountain. Out of the saddle there for a little bit. We haven't yet seen Nibali get out of the saddle. I'm sure we will. Actually, the last section, the last kilometer, normally you would be out of the saddle, but you're so tired by that point. Most riders just tend to sit down and push the knees and just get it. You will see, perhaps not Nibali, but you will see several riders further down the field, zigzagging across the road, trying to fight off having to get off the bike and walk. There's Emma Pooley. You can spot these natural climbers straight away. She looks very composed. There's a really nice rhythm there. A very small rider, of course, very compact. She's riding that bike that was custom made for her to her specifications. Emma has a PhD in engineering, so she knows how to engineering. So her input was invaluable to the setup of that bike. So Nibali now is at 5.8k to go. It looks like Emma's group is at 11.4k to go. So just about 6 kilometers difference between the two. That should factor to about 18, 19 minutes. Of course, Nibali's further up the steeper section, so that will probably extend. But Emma's putting in a great ride here. An absolutely fantastic ride. Consistent now. Oh, there's Nibali again, out of the saddle. Out of the saddle and pushing those gears. Now where is Oscar Puyol? Oscar Puyol is in second place. We haven't yet seen him. I haven't any time checks. It looks, with the camera focusing on Nibali, that he's distanced Puyol. Just adjusting his glasses there. There you can see that beautiful weather I was talking about. We've been blessed again this year with fantastic weather. No need for arm warmers or a rain jacket this year. Slightly less steep here. Very fluid movement there from Nibali, not pushing such a big gear, just turning it over and staying on top. You can probably hear in the background the Taiwanese commentator and that fantastic sound system I told you about. I hope it's not causing too much disruption to your viewing pleasure or your listening pleasure. It's impressive that Nibali's been able to hold his form this well. Of course, he won Lombardia just 2 weeks ago with a solo victory, I do believe by 20 seconds. His second win there. And it looks like he's on his way to his first win at the Taiwan KOM Challenge, but let's not make too many presumptions. You never know what's going to happen on this hill. It would be great to know where Oscar Puyol is. Oscar Puyol in second place, last year's winner. As yet, we have no time checks. .6 now for Vincenzo Nibali. 4.6 to go. 3 hours 45. So we'll be looking at somewhere just under 4 hours for Nibali's ride. Perhaps just over, depends how he goes in the last steep kilometers. So he's been riding now for 101.5 kilometers. He's getting close to 3,100 meters. Anyone that's done a long hill climb race and seen those kilometers to go signs will know that they can be a blessing and a curse, depending on how you're going. But this hill in particular, when you see the 5K to go, and you remember the parkour, you know that you've got even more suffering coming. And with 2K to go, you come over that final summit, which dips down 1 kilometer. You can see the finish line when you're at the top of that peak. You can see that it's above you where you are now, so you know that you have to go around and then come back up. And that descent is quite tricky. And at the bottom of the descent, you turn right. It's a hard right-hander. There's quite a few parked cars down there from the tourists that have come up, and you have to be very careful. And there's no, although you have quite good speed coming down, around about 70k per hour on that descent, the incline is very sharp and very immediate, so you don't get much of a run-in. You have to come down the gears very, very quickly. The riders that have done it before know that, and they can prepare for it, but some of the riders won't be quite prepared for that. And you'll see them fumbling with the gears, trying to get it down to the easiest gear from the beach. He should be coming around that corner soon. 4K to go of the 2017 Taiwan KOM Challenge. Last year at this point we had 2 riders sprinting it out. This year it looks like a different affair. And there we have that wide pan of these beautiful mountains. There you can see the road, and there you can see the beginning of the descent. It gets a little bit more technical, well, quite technical actually, behind that hill. And then the riders come through that little valley there. You just see a sliver of the road, and there is the steep incline that leads up to the finish. And we're just about 500 meters above that. There we are, waiting here for Nicole. We seem to have fewer fans here this year at the finish than usual. I'm not quite sure why that might be. We might have a problem further down with perhaps the police allowing the tour buses up. I'm not sure. There's Emma Pooley out of the saddle on the steep section. Last year's winner, of course. There's the world champion stripes on her sleeves from when she won the time trial world championships. Looks like she's distancing the, not quite distancing, but you can see that the incline, these riders have been together for a long time. You can see the impact of the incline. You just have to go at your own pace. You can't push it. If you do, you'll blow a gasket. The legs will go, the lungs will go. Emma there just turning the gears over. She's in a compact, she's got a 32 on the back. The chat with her earlier. She was looking forward to it. You know what professional riders are like, they never give away. Just turning over the gears. Emma's riding specially made Sense composite wheels. It's a new wheel brand that actually Emma's the co-founder of. Sense Composites are making 650 and 700C wheels, and as I mentioned just a few moments ago, with her PhD in engineering, she had input into the design of the wheels. So I've actually never met a professional. I've spoken to her a few. Sort of in tune with her bike and knowledgeable about what she wants from it. A lot of riders, of course, just there's different kind of riders. There are different kinds of people. Some riders just jump on the bike and go, but Emma certainly knows her stuff in terms of the setup of her bike. She's looking quite fluid, Emma, actually. Her mouth is open, she seems to be breathing. Her breathing is controlled. 3K to go, I'm not quite sure. I do believe the 3K to go is for Nibali. It just showed 10.9k to go with Emma in screen shot, but she's definitely closer than that because this. As you can see, although we're at about 3,300 meters here, 3,250, we still have trees up here, casting those wonderful shadows. There's the tires there, which always make me smile. The crash barrier. Maybe just trying to tell the cameraman to move a bit further out of the way. Focusing on Emma here, it would be great to, although it's great to see Emma, it would also be great to move further up and see how Nibali's doing. Up here at the top, they're preparing for the arrival of the first rider. I do believe it's going to be Vincenzo Nibali. Oscar Puyol is in second place. Not quite sure how far behind, because as I mentioned before, we've not been getting time checks. It is a shame. I would love to be able to tell you where all the riders are on the hill, but what I can tell you, in the men's classification, Oscar Puyol is in second place at this moment, and here we have Emma Pooley working her way up the steep sections of the climb in first place in the women's race. Equal prize money this year for the men, so both the men and the women will be receiving 500,000 NT dollars, roughly 17,000. There she is, Emma Pooley. She's on 2,970 meters. The incline now is 11%. She's at 18k per hour. I'm not quite sure if that's 18k per hour, but she's certainly turning the pedals over and looking good. And here's Nibali. Nibali is coming up. This is the last section, so he's on his way. He's gone down the descent. There are moto riders behind him and a car. So it looks pretty certain that Puyol has been distanced far enough so that they can let the cars in there. Otherwise, the cars will not be there. Nibali now on his way up. We're going to get a view. Oh, Nibali is just about to start the descent, the 1k descent. Look at that fantastic image. Absolutely glorious day for these glorious mountains. Stunning shot there. Hard to say it's reminiscent of anywhere really, but maybe some of the images of the Alps. Quite unique. Certainly this is not the longest hill climb in the world. I believe that record is maybe held by Hawaii, the Hawaiian race, which is up to about 5,000 meters. But Simon Richardson and Matt Stevenson, in one of their videos they made earlier today or yesterday, they put this in their top 5 of the toughest hill climbs in the world. And it looks with just about 1.7k to go, like the winner of this year's Taiwan KOM Challenge, the men's category, is going to be Vincenzo Nibali. And there we go back to 205, Emma Jane Pooley of Great Britain. I would say Emma, I'm not quite sure exactly how far away. I'd say she's about 4 to 5 kilometers. Maybe we'll see one of the marker signs from a little bit around here. They're now preparing at the top. In front of me, I can see them getting ready for Nibali's arrival. There is Oscar Puyol. So Oscar Puyol is on his way down the descent. As I said, quite tricky and quite fast. I was surprised to get home after the first time I did this and see a maximum speed of over 70k per hour, so it is very fast. Nibali now is probably somewhere a kilometer to 800 meters ahead. We might just get an image of him as Puyol there goes behind that hill. There's a tricky right-hander. Not quite sure where Nibali. I'm not quite sure. There we go. There we go. So about 500 meters to go now for Nibali. Even less, maybe 350. Coming around this bend, he should be looking at a left-turner, a left-hander, and that left-hander leads to the final punishing meters. Very, very steep. Nibali has done what many expected. There were some other contenders here. There was Phil Gaiman from the USA, a very, very prolific climber. There was Cadel Evans, of course, although he's been retired for 2 years. He mentioned that he was here to do his best, and I'm sure he certainly has. But with Nibali being in this kind of form, as I mentioned, he won Lombardia just 2 weeks ago. It looks like he has transferred that into a performance, a winning performance on this mountain. So fantastic stuff from Vincenzo Nibali. In front of me, the cameras have amassed. I can see Troy de Haas, Cadel Evans' manager, is here taking a little video of me. There's Nibali coming up the last section. There is Vincenzo Nibali. 0.4 kilometers to go. Looking good, looking strong. You'll soon begin to hear the cheers here from the fans that have gathered, from the TV crew. A plethora of TV crew here. You'll hear a raise in decibels as well from our Taiwanese commentator, which you can hear in the background. So Vincenzo Nibali of Bahrain Merida of Italy, known as the Shark, now perhaps also known as the Shark of the Taiwan KOM Challenge. Transferring that climbing ability that we're also familiar with from watching him in the Giro d'Italia, the Vuelta a España, and of course the Tour de France. He's won all three. He's only one of 6 riders in the history of cycling to have won all 3. 0.2 kilometers to go. I think it might be slightly longer than that, maybe about 3, but he's getting very, very close indeed.
Okay.
Yep, we're looking at about 250 meters to go. He comes around that bend, that little curve there, and you can see the banners of the various sponsors and the fans amassed there. That is the final 100-meter stretch. Now, it's a bit deceptive here. The section that he's coming up right now is still quite steep, about 10 to 13%. That section there in the middle, it looks flat, but it certainly isn't. Emma Pulley there. Back we go to Emma Pulley, turning the gears over. Emma Pulley looking for her second. It really doesn't matter how fit you are, it doesn't matter how great a climber you are, this hill makes you suffer. And that's a fantastic image of the Taiwanese fans, of course, with their cameras, doing a Tour de France, so to speak. Let's hope they respect Nibali's safety. I'm sure they will. There's a flag being waved. You can see the steepness there. Nibali's out of the saddle. 50 or so meters to go. He's going to cross the line in just a few seconds. Coming up now to the top of Hualien San, 275 meters. From 0 meters to 3275, 105 kilometers, and there he is. You can see the finish line. So there it is. There's the Shark. There's a smile on the face. The winner of the 2017 Taiwan KOM Challenge is Vincenzo Nibali. He's just passed right in front of me. A great ride there by Nibali. And here comes Oscar Pujol, a valiant attempt. Pujol's ridden very well. He's really not that far behind Nibali. It's a stellar ride. Last year's winner, of course. As I mentioned, the prize money for the men and the women is equal. First place is 500,000 NT, 17,000 or so US dollars. Second place is half, 250,000. So around about 8 to 9,000 US dollars. So not a bad day's work here for Oscar Pujol. It's halved again for third place, and it goes all the way down to 6. Not sure if that's a smile or a grimace there. Let's see if Pujol sports a very distinctive twirled mustache. Let's see if his mustache has survived the Taiwan KOM challenge. The relief from the stress and the pain. And there's a wheelie, Alas Sagan. That was impressive after all that riding. And here he comes, coming right past me. Oscar Pujol, second place at the Taiwan KOM Challenge 2017. And he goes to get his medal and to get his drink, and a little shake of the head there. Here we have John Epson. John Epson, the two-time winner of the Taiwan KOM, 2012, 2014. Second place in 2013. Fifth place last year, so the boy's got some form. He's done very well here, taking home some good paychecks. He's coming in third place, and I mentioned before that he told me this morning that he wasn't really riding anymore and he was just here for fun. And I told him I'd have to see it to believe it, and I was proven right. I've raced against John many times. We were actually on the same team together for a short spell. He's a very nice bloke. Quite quirky, but a very nice lad. And he's about to take third place in the Taiwan KOM Challenge 2017. John was riding professionally for a few years. He told me that he's recently retired. It's great to see John doing well here, to get third place with this caliber of riders. Last year he was quite disappointed coming in fifth. He did not have a good day. He was quite ill beforehand. But here he is coming around the corner, getting the applause from the crowds. And the fans here are fantastic. They will wait. They will wait where they are, and they'll be cheering on people that are coming in an hour and a half's time. It really is fantastic to see the support from the Taiwanese people for cycling here in Taiwan. And of course this year's Taiwan KOM Challenge has really captured the hearts and the imagination of the Taiwan cycling fraternity, and not just actually the Taiwan cycling fraternity, but Taiwan as a whole. I was fortunate enough to go with Cadel Evans to meet the president of Taiwan, President Tsai, the first female president of Taiwan. We went to see her on the 16th. We had a private meeting with her. She was very nice, spoke great English, and she said actually that she would like to come to the Taiwan KOM Challenge next year to watch it, so that would be fantastic. So everyone in Taiwan is getting behind this event, and it's great to see. Here comes John Epson. A grimace on the face. He's ridden this hill many, many times. John Epson, third place in the Taiwan KOM Challenge 2017 from Denmark. Well done, John. Cut. That's a wrap. Well done, John Epson. So the top three in the Taiwan KOM Challenge 2017. In first place, it was Vincenzo Nibali of Italy and Bahrain Merida. In second place, Oscar Pujol. And in third place, John Epson of Denmark. Those are your top three. We are now awaiting the arrival of the first woman up the hill. Oh, there's a rider coming in, very close to John. Let me see if I can see his number. Number 59. Let me just have a look here. That's Cameron Piper of the USA. So great right there from Cameron Piper. Very close to John. That last kilometer is so steep, you can't really chase people. You just have to put it in the best gear you can and hope for the best. Very difficult to put in the sprint when it gets up to about 18% when you've ridden so far. There's Emma Jane Pooley. It looks like Emma Jane Pooley of Great Britain, riding for, sponsored by NGI, sponsored by Sense Composites, and by Bond.Bike, is going to be taking first place in the women's category for the second year in the run. Yet again, not quite sure on time checks, not quite sure where the other riders are, but again, with the focus being on Emma right now, it looks like she's clear of the second place woman. Again, I'm not sure who that is, I do apologise. We have had some teething difficulties, this being the very first Taiwan KOM challenge. But it looks like Emma Jane Pooley is going to be the first woman for the second time in succession. I spoke to Emma last year and I interviewed her for the KOM Facebook page, and I asked her about how she got into cycling. And she actually told me that when she first started racing, she was losing. Well, she lost all the time. She said that she wasn't very adept at it. She actually said that she didn't have much natural talent. Emma's a very humble person, but I took her at her word. She's very honest as well. And she put down her success to just a lot of hard work and determination, and just refusing to give in. I think she's one of those competitors who you will have to do everything you possibly can to shake her off your wheel. She'll grit her teeth and she'll ride above her station when needs be. But today she's certainly riding very, very well indeed. A class act, is Emma. A real class act. The first high-profile woman that we invited to the Taiwan KOM Challenge was Tiffany Cromwell. Tiffany, of course, the winner of the Omloop at Nieuwsblad, and more since then. Tiffany came twice and was very, very helpful in helping us spread the word about the Taiwan KOM Challenge amongst women cyclists, and encouraging her teammates to come over here. She's, of course, the teammate of Leah Torvaldsen, who is riding the KOM this year as well. And then we had Nicole Cook, of course, world champion, Olympic champion, absolutely fantastic rider. She had retired a couple of years ago. She came out to ride the race. It was Nicole who had a few choice words to me at the end. It was a very cold edition of the Taiwan KOM, and everybody suffered when she gained her composure. And she told me that this was the hardest one-day event she'd ever done, which was something to hear from someone who's ridden some really hard one-day events. And then Emma Pooley came. That was 3 years ago. Emma Pooley came 2 years ago. That was the first time that she came. Sorry, last year. That was the first time that she came. She told me a similar thing. This is the hardest one-day event she's ever ridden. It was also, at that point, the women's salary, the women's prize money for first place was €6,000. Emma told me that was the most she'd ever earned in a one-day race, which is kind of indicative of the disparity between the men's racing and the women's racing. Tiffany told me that when she went on loop, she received around just under €1,000. The winner of the men's race earned €90,000. So Emma, it looks like she's riding to first place, and looks like she's riding to equal prize money with the men. So Emma will be taking home 500. The Cookie Monster with his distinctive kit. Great ride there by Phil. I think Phil took 5th place. So Phil can be happy with that. Good day's work. Yes, so Emma will be receiving this year equal prize money to Vincenzo Nibali. So that's something she'll be very happy about. So Phil Gaiman coming in there. In 5th place. Not quite sure who this rider is. Ah, there we go, number 64. Looks like John Brevoy. Just let me double check that. John Saivaras Brevold of Norway. Any Norwegians out there? John Bravold. Any Norwegians out there, I apologize for the pronunciation, but that is John Bravold. Coming in, I do believe, for 6th place. This is provisional. We know the top. Reiterate the top 3. It was Vincenzo Nibali. 2nd place was Oscar Puyol, and in 3rd place it was John Epson. Sixth place, John Bravold. You can see that was something of a sprint. He had to sprint to stay ahead of the chap behind him, and that really hurts when you have someone trying to chase you down. You really have to dig deep. I do believe that's 7th place rider. I'm not quite sure of his number. Oh, it's the Japanese rider. I do believe it's Morimoto. The renowned Japanese rider always wears his sort of day spectacles. Very distinctive. Very good rider. Sponsored by Gokuso, of course. Gokuso make those fantastic titanium. I think they're titanium. Fantastic hubs. Very expensive, but very, very nice. I was fortunate enough to be able to ride a pair for a year. They really are special. Emma there having a chat. So she's got a bit of breath still to have a chat. Maybe she's asking the fellow next to her to lead her out. Not quite sure. And as I was saying earlier, all year, every day of the year, in all weathers, there will be these amateur cyclists, people on touring bikes, people on mountain bikes, people on single speeds. Would you believe it has happened? Riding up this mountain, and there's 2 of them just being passed by a world champion. So if they know who she is, that will certainly be one of the highlights of their cycling careers. Actually getting quite chilly up here at the top as the clouds move in and block out the sun. The riders might be happy about that though, as they get a chance to cool down after their exertions. So the top 3 now, they'll be very soon going into the anti-doping vehicle. We have quite a strong anti-doping policy here at the Taiwan KOM Challenge. The Japanese Olympic Committee sends over some of their top associated testers, and we have the top 3. I do believe it's the top 3, if not the top 6. Definitely the top 3 are tested, and then some random riders, and the same in the women's classification. And we were the first event in Asia to bring in quite a stringent no doping policy. So any rider who's ever had a doping violation or a sanction is not allowed to pin on number and ride the race. They can ride the course, but they're not allowed to ride the race. So. Anyway, it's great to see Emma Pulley here doing a thing. Emma is quite a tea fanatic. When she was a pro, every race that she would win, she would go out and buy herself a teapot. It was her treat. And she does love her tea. At the top of the mountain, when they finish, we have a huge urn, endless urns actually, of hot ginger tea. It really is quite delicious. And Emma was mentioning that she was looking forward to getting to the top of the mountain and having a cup of ginger tea. So that won't be one of the first things that she does when she gets to the top. So once again, I do apologize for the lack of live images earlier on, apart from the lack of the live images of that wonderful. Cadel Evans, I do believe, getting into the top 10 there. Oh, great ride from Cadel. .70 coming over the line. He put in the shift there to try and catch the former world champion. Number 70 is Oscar Sanchez Caballero from Spain. So he's put in a very good ride. Cadel put in a great ride there, actually. To oh, there's Damien Monnier. Damien was third. I do believe in 2015. 2015. I'm not sure what time he's on. I do apologize. He actually won in 2015. He won in 2015, so still a great ride there from Damien. His second time here at the Taiwan KOM. But Cadel Evans put in a great ride there. He put in a really good display. He hasn't been riding for 2 years, of course. He lacks the sharpness of someone like Nibali and Puyol, who of course are both racing. But a very good ride there from Cadel Evans, representing BNC, of course, as the ambassador. Now, I do believe Emma Pooley was with that rider that we can see there in third place earlier on. Whether she's ahead of him, I'm not sure, or just behind. But Emma Pooley will be on her way over this final stretch. Looks like Emma Pooley is going to be the 2017 winner of the women's classification of the Taiwan KOM Challenge. I do believe that's Emma. That looked like Emma there in blue. These riders now to be seeing this finish line. It's one of the best finishing lines you will ever see in your life. That I can guarantee. Number 42 there, putting in a very good ride. I think this might be Emma Pooley. Is this? Oh no, it was a sprint for the finish. Two riders there sprinting for the finish. Quite mad, but good on them. Of Australia, so a great ride from Andrew Robert Pike of Australia. There's a kamikaze rider. I'm guessing the kamikaze rider is Japanese, number 190. 190, I do apologize, I do not have his name in English, and my Japanese is a little bit rusty. There goes Cadel Evans, cooling down. Looking remarkably fresh, I have to say. Most riders, after they finish this climb, don't want to see the bike again for about a week, but he's already up and spinning. The true professional. Another rider there coming up. Out of the saddle for the last few meters. Well done, sir. Good ride from the Columbus cycling team, a Taiwanese rider.
Okay, 30号.
That's the first Taiwanese rider to come in. Just let me give me a second to get the number. It's number 30. One moment, bear with me. Number 30.
假如再冲一次。
Number 30 is Yuan Peng, the first Taiwanese rider to cross the line from the Columbus team. Great stuff there. I have to admit, although I live in Taiwan, I've not come across that rider. I may have raced against him in the past, but he isn't one of the renowned climbers here. So a great effort there. The first riders across the line in Taiwan is very much celebrated, so a great effort there from him. And here we have Emma Pooley. Emma Pooley is going to take first place in the women's classification of the Taiwan KOM Challenge. Still looks like about 2K to go for Emma. And there you can see the finish area where I'm seated just at the back there near that cliff.
到终点了，我们的台湾猛将冯静。大家呢，在我们的赛道两旁持续守候，要为选手加油。
Another great ride there. Oh, that's Ping Yang Tang. That can't be right because Ping Yang Tang just crossed the line.
You are so strong.
Oh, that was a
Okay,
replay of it crossing the line.
30号。
And there you can see the medal that we received. It really is quite a fine looking medal. It's a handsome medal. It's a chain ring.
刚刚台湾第一名
And
是
it
彭
embossed
元
is
堂，30号彭元堂。
the contour of the mountains here. And there is the first Filipino riders across the line. The 711 team. Looking quite exhausted actually, and not surprising. Riders coming in thick and fast now. Well, not quite thick and fast, but a steady trickle. And well done to all these guys. There's Emma. Out the saddle, looking comfortable, not looking over her shoulder, so I must assume that she has a big enough gap to be safe there. Ah, and there we have Fan Younggi. Fan Younggi just crossed the line. Fan Younggi is the most celebrated climber here in Taiwan. He's won this event, I think, twice. He's won just about all of the big hill climb events in Taiwan, and we have several others. Tataja and Alishan, they're not quite as big as the beast that is the Taiwan KOM, but they're certainly hefty, 65, 70, 50 kilometers. It really is a climber's paradise, and a sprinter's hell, actually. Another Taiwanese rider across the line, so we've now had 4 Taiwanese riders, which is great. There's the top 10, Vincenzo Nibali, Puyol, Epson, Piper, Bradbury, Gaiman, Bravold, the Japanese rider Moromoto, another Japanese rider, I do apologize I haven't got his number, and then Cadel Evans rounds out the top 10. So great work there from Cadel Evans. There's the aerial drone shot. Oh, here we have, yeah, there again is the top 10. So it's Italy, Spain, Denmark, the USA, Great Britain, America, Norway, 2 Japanese riders, and an Aussie rounding up the top 10. 3:19.54, that is very, very fast indeed for Nibali. So 19:20, so a minute and a half, just about a minute and a half faster than second place Oscar Puyol. About 3 minutes behind him was John Epson. And just about 22 seconds behind we had Cameron Piper, so that was very close, but that will still be about it's about 200 meters, 24 seconds. If not 100 meters. That's how steep the last little section is. So well done to the top 10. And here comes Emma Jane Pooley. Here she comes. Emma is now getting to that last little section on her way up. I'll see you later. Here she comes, Emma Jane Pooley, on her way to winning the Women's Taiwan KOM Challenge for the second time. And Emma should be in the top 20 overall, so that will be fantastic from Emma. Oh, Emma's on her way down the dip, so she has this about another 300 meters of this descent to go. Quite technical. You can see that just a bit of a wobble in the handlebars. She'll be rounding the bend at the bottom, and then she'll be on the way up this last section, which is 1K. So still quite a few minutes to go because it is very steep. So no idea who's in second place in the limited event. No idea. I do apologize for that. I will get that information to you as soon as we have it. So as the awards go, the prize awards and the trophies go down to the top 6. Let's go over the top 6 once again from 6th place. It's a great ride from Phil Gaiman. In 2nd place, Edmund Bradbury. Sorry, in 5th place, Edmund Bradbury. In 4th place, Cameron Piper. In 3rd place, John Epson. In 2nd place, it's Oscar Puyol. And the winner this year is Vincenzo Nibali. So Nibali can add the Taiwan KOM Challenge crown to the rest of his trophies that he's won this year, and indeed throughout his career. There's rider 111 crossing the line, sponsored by Quota. That is Yanfu Lin Yanfu of Taiwan. So the Taiwanese riders really putting on a great performance this year. We've seen at least 6, 7 come over in the top 25 riders. Very good indeed. And there's another Philippine 711 team rider coming in. And you can see the effort on these guys' faces. That's number 24. That is Mark John Galedo of 711 Road Bike Philippines. Emma Pulley will be coming around that bend very soon indeed. And there is Emma. Emma Jane Pulley, silver medalist in the Olympics at the time trial, 4-time British national champion, 3 times in the time trial, once in the road race. World champion in the time trial. One of the best climbers of her generation. Destroyed the men at the Hotwood Rockies for the first time to ever win a stage and beat the men at the same time. And there were some really good male riders there. Some top former American pros were there, and she beat them all. She beat the second place guy by 30 seconds. 4 times current and consecutive Powerman duathlon world champion. Also, she does a lot of running now too. She's winning a lot of running races, mostly uphill stuff. So she likes to climb, whether it be on a bike or in her running. So she's no stranger to the mountains in Switzerland, but as she identified, this is another kettle of fish. But she's looking good to take first place this year again. Oh, and there she is in focus. That's fantastic. There she is with those world champion bands. It was great to see her and Evans stood together on the start line earlier today, both of them with the rainbow bands. And it really, this part, last section really is very grueling. To cyclists and to road racers, you'll know what I mean when I say it really is just a slog. There's nothing you can do except just grind away and get into gear and hope that those pedals keep turning. Some of the those more affected by the altitude and by the distance and by the steepness of this climb later on will not be riding quite as smoothly as it is. So she's looking very good there. Riders further down the mountain, once they get up here, they will be zigzagging. Some will be walking. Some will be cursing the heavens. Some will be cursing themselves for signing up for this. And then when they finish, they'll be saying how amazing it was and signing up for it again next year. Which, such is the nature of road cyclists, mad as hatters. And here she comes. I can hear the applause. She's on her way. Emma Pulley, really riding as an independent. She doesn't have the major sponsors that some of the guys do, which is very unfortunate. Sponsored by Bond Up Bike, Sense Composites and NGI. Just a quick look over the shoulder there to see what's going on. Looks composed. And she'll be very happy indeed to see that finish line. I do believe I can hear cowbells, which will be fitting for Emma. She lives in Switzerland, of course. Some wobbly camera work there. So for anyone out there who's watching this, and thinking of coming to Taiwan to do the Taiwan KOM Challenge, or indeed just to ride this race and not take part in this particular event, we do have the road to Taiwan KOM. We have two versions. It's exactly the same hill that these professionals ride, so you get exactly the same feeling, exactly the same sensations, and you see exactly the same scenery, exactly the same pain as well. The cut-off hour for those two are 9.5 hours. We have one in spring. The dates are yet to be released, but one in spring and one in summer. So the amateurs can come and ride these same hills. This event is usually on the last or the second to last Friday. There she is, a smile from Emma. But this today has been really a great advertisement for the Taiwan KOM Challenge, for the beauty of Taiwan, for travel here, to come and ride here. So yeah, if you're thinking of doing it, today I hopefully will have tipped you to tip the balance. And there we go, Emma Pooley with 100 meters to go. It takes about a minute and a half, that 100 meters. It is quite grueling. But she's there and she's zipping up the jersey like a true professional. Smile on the face, which is great to see. She'll be absolutely thrilled with this. She had a bit of trepidation, of course, naturally because of the hill. She had the advantage of knowing it, whereas some of the other women didn't. But she was a little bit fearful due to the caliber of the women that we had over here this year. But she's done it. Emma Pooley is going to win the 2017 Taiwan KOM Challenge. A few meters to go now. There's one of the fans getting it all for his Facebook. There we go. Emma Pooley, that's a big smile from her. That's great to see. Out of the way, please, she says. Doesn't want to come a cropper just here. And there she is. She's won it. Emma Pooley, well done. Absolutely fantastic there from Emma Pooley. Second consecutive victory. And there she goes to unclip. Oh, what a feeling that is. After doing this 3 times myself, I can't tell you the joy. And that's also a common sight. Straight onto your backside to rest those bones. Lay the bike down. There she goes. That'll be one of the enduring images of the KOM, I'm sure, this year. But within about 3 or 4 minutes, she'll be up for that ginger tea I spoke about earlier. So well done, Emma. Enjoy your rest. Really well done. And here we have another Taiwanese rider coming in my view. Ah, there we go. Fantastic. There's Emma. Probably when she least wants it. Just catching that breath. It's quite odd, this climb. You're in control of your breathing all the way, but as soon as you stop, the altitude really kicks in because you just can't get enough oxygen back into your lungs. So not only are you naturally exhausted from doing a climb like this, you're trying to get all the air in. And it's quite dry up here as well, so your lungs could be, your throat can be a little bit dry. It can take an hour or two to start to feel like a normal human being.
Thanks, Marianne. Sorry, I just needed a bit of breathing.
There she goes. Hey, Emma.
It's hard to breathe up here.
I know, I think I feel like a
What a professional.
The last bit is like...
If I can, I will try to get Emma over here a little bit later on, see if we can have a chat with her.
Me too.
Emma as well will have to go off for the anti-doping check, just as the men do.
Right.
Top 3. There's Cadel Evans. Those rainbow stripes on his jersey. Just getting himself in his clothing. It's very important if you ride this mountain, you take into consideration how much cooler it can be. If it's 25 at the bottom, it can be 5 here. So with the altitude as well, it's quite pinching the cold. when riders come and do our events, we give them a day bag, and they put their work. Shout to the cameras. It's a shame we don't have sound. Perhaps you do. And I'm speaking over. I'm not exactly sure.
I only charge $10.
Remember they're chatting to another fellow competitor?
No, I live in Sydney.
This is one of the great things about this race. Everyone has the exact same experience. You know, the amateurs, the pro riders, the pro tour riders, the world champions. If you were to meet, if Ken was to meet some guy that came in for 3 hours after her in a coffee shop in Switzerland, and he'd done this event, they'd have an instant bond because they'd shared this very similar experience. There you can see what I was talking about earlier. When you're going well, you can kind of dictate the pace just a little bit, but for these riders that are exhausted and coming in now, it's really quite a struggle. There's Emma once again.
Hi, Emma.
Emma, you win?
Emma. Emma, come to Yoshi.
You didn't come with me, so you said you were going to ride with me.
More riders coming up.
Great.
If any of you out there can let me know if you can hear Emma. I'm not exactly sure if I'm speaking over Emma and the interviews or not. So send me, those of you who know me, send me a Facebook.
Okay.
It actually wasn't the cowbells that I heard earlier. It was the finishers' medals clanking together. There she is, Emma Pulley, 2017 winner. All smiles. The equal prize money will certainly help. That's for sure. There's one of the staff for the Taiwan KOM Challenge. That's Baoyang, her responsibility is to take care of the invited riders and the journalists, so she's there helping Emma out and giving her a day bag. Here's one of the, I think, Taiwanese, maybe Hong Kong riders coming in. I'll have to check his number. You can't see what I'm seeing in front of me. The riders come right in front of my commentary booth, and some of them are actually almost falling off the bikes, being helped by our staff here. This chap seems to be all smiles. You never know, it could be a grimace. Let's see when he finishes. Another great effort. Well done, sir.
It's makeup time.
It's the same pattern with all the riders as they come in front of me just after they finished crossing the line. It's the Garmin switched off, and then the unclip, and then they kind of semi-collapse on the floor, and then someone gives them a medal. Well done, mate. Well done. Another teammate of the chap that just finished coming up. Let me just check. Number 116 just came over the line. Number 116. number 116. It is a Taiwanese rider from the SYB FTL cycling team. That was Lin Jun Chan. His teammates just crossed the line. I can't see his number because he's collapsed. Emma seems too exhausted to... Oh, she's having a stretch. This is how the professionals do it, folks. 3,275 meters, 105 kilometers. No finishing line beer for them. It's a stretch to keep a number. Emma's going to stay in Taiwan. Last year when she came to Taiwan, she had to leave, unfortunately, the day after, and she missed the after KOM party, which is always, let's just say, it's always fun. Usually a few beers sunk there, a few glasses of wine by the riders and the journalists and the staff alike. And she had to head to Perth, but this year she's booked a few extra days, so she's going to come to the finishing party. And she said that she sort of fell in love with Taiwan when she came last year, and she was amazed and surprised by how beautiful it was and how friendly the people were, and how safe and how easy it is to get around with the transportation systems and what have you. So she's going to stay around for a few days and do a tour of East Taiwan, which is the start line. The start town is Hualien, is on the east coast, just about in the middle of the east coast. If you go down from there, you head down to Taidong, which is about 4 hours away. That's the next substantial town down there. It's a beautiful highway down there. We have a race there. The TCF, Taiwan Cyclist Federation, has a race there that anyone is free to enter. It's an amateur race. It's I believe it's a 2-day race, 2 stages. We go from Hualien all the way down on the mountain roads to Taidong, which is about 150k, and then the next day we go from Taidong. That's a beautiful road by the coast. It's an absolutely stunning ride. Really, really, really great race that is. So Emma's going to be going down and touring down there for a few days and just enjoying riding her bike and not having to worry about going fast or to try and beat fellow professionals. There's Phil Gaiman. Phil, of course, is a bit of a social media monster, as well as being a cookie monster and a Strava monster. He's up there making sure he gets his images. He's been getting his camera out at all kinds of, well, just about every moment he can when the women, no one's quite prepared for it, and he's a quirky character. He's a really nice bloke, actually. And there we have the guys getting ready for the awards ceremony. So just to recap, the guys that are getting up there on the podium, in 6th place it's Phil Gaiman. In 5th place, Edmund Bradbury. In 4th, great ride by Edmund. In 4th, another great ride, Cameron Piper. And the top 3, we have John Epson there on the right, in the 3rd place on the podium. In 2nd place, we have Oscar Puyol. I said the 2nd place, John Epson, I mean on the right. I'm sorry, on the 3rd place. In the 2nd spot, we have Oscar Puyol. And coming soon, it's the Pro Tour rider. It's the shark of the Taiwan KOM Challenge. It's Vincenzo Nibali.
OK， 好，我们现场所有的这个嘉宾，相信大家非常的期待。今天的结果已经出来了。好，热烈的掌声。
If I had to bet, I would have bet on Nibali today. I thought perhaps Phil Gaiman or John Epson or Oscar Puyol could have given him. They certainly gave him room for money, but I thought perhaps they could have been outside bets. But I think the smart money was on Nibali all the way after his ride in Lombardia. And there he is on the finish line. As you can see, it's quite chilly here. The guys are just wrapping up a little bit. There's the usual smartphones clicking away and the tablets, everyone getting their images. And here come the medals.
6 medalists.
The woman there giving
out Vincenzo Nibali.
The finishers. That is the finishers medal. The woman giving the finishers medal to Vincenzo Nibali is the Taiwan, one of the heads of the Taiwan Tourism Bureau.
好，我们的第2名呢是
So Nibali gets his finishers medal.
2012年跟2014年的冠军。
It's a really nice medal. This.
第3名是我们的 John Epson。
well,
John Epson
let's say the medals aren't that
是
substantial. But this is quite a heavy medal.
John
It's a
Epson 才是我
beautiful.
们
The outer
2022
design
跟
is of a
2014的
chain
冠军。
ring
刚刚说的
sprocket.
Oscar 是去年的
And
冠
the
军，
inner,
去
the
年
inner
的
is
冠
embossed
军
with，
重新更
the
正一
outline
下
of the。Taiwan KOM
好
Challenge Mountain. And there's a ribbon, enameled ribbon of white and red polka dots that just drapes
好，
across the
还有一
mountains.
位。
It's really very
好，
cool.
那当然，大
It's
家
a keeper.
期待的就是我们的这个
As for
奖金
Gaiman getting
啦，
his
男
finishes
子
bell,
这
he'll
个
be
冠
happy
军
with
的
6th
奖
place.
金就是我们的新台币50万元。有请我们的副局长为我们来颁
Really
发。
well. There's the podium, the top 6 in the men's classification and the overall, of course. Vincenzo Nibali in first, Oscar Puyol in second,
Wow,
Jennings in
that
third.
is surprise.
And there is
500,000
Vincenzo Nibali's check, 500,000 NT dollars. Not bad for a day's work, Vincenzo.
Yeah, take
That's
photo
about
together, show us the,
$17,500 US dollars.
Have a smile.
So well done there. And of course the flowers.
那我们接下来呢，副局长，我们邀请
Let's
我
hope he's
们
not
这个
allergic.
2017台湾自行车节的代言人张景兰，然后来到舞台上为大家来献花，
That chap
好
on the
吗？
left.
好，来有请，
Oh.
有请景兰。
He's gone. Oh.
掌声欢迎。
I do believe we're looking at the second woman coming in. Haley Simmons.
好，我们今天呢非常开心看到
Haley
景兰
Simmons
她
from
有
the
来
UK.
参加
Just
我
give
们
me a second.
KOM 的开幕典礼，然后呢也来到我们的颁奖典礼。
Yes, it's Haley Simmons. Pro Cycling Unity.
好，
She's
为
a
我们
former
来献
British
花。
national holder. And
Okay, so
just,
altogether,
should we just go
check
back to the men's
one
podium, but I'll get back
beautiful
to, I'll
photo.
get back to Haley in a moment. Looks like she's doing a great ride for second place, but we'll have to confirm that.
我们在这边呢是先颁发奖牌，然后呢还有这个献花。
Yeah,
等
there we are on
一
the
下呢
screen.
在
来，
婚
掌声
姻停车场
鼓励
才是正式的颁奖
看正
哦。
前方啊，掌声鼓励。现在颁发的是
Okay, okay. There we have. Sorry about this, guys. We keep on swapping.
好，我们今
But there
天
are
呢
the
也
top
准备了
6.
这个好，他们自己带的
You might have caught sight of the bear on the left there.
好
think
意
that's
大
the
利的
Hualien
国旗。
bear.
我们这次呢2017KOM Challenge
There are 2 bears,
第
and I
一
get a bit
名是来
distracted. I
自
think that is a
巴黎美
Hualien
利
bear. I
达
think his name
意
is
大利的
Ocean.
选手，现役
It's a
的
mascot.
三
And
冠
the bear on
王
the right, or the tiger on the right, is
我们
the
呢
Juro
这个巴黎美利达
mascot.
职业
He's
车队
one of
还
the
特
sponsors
别
of the
带了
Taiwan
意大利
KOM
的国
Challenge
旗。
and of the
大家
Taiwan
给他们热情的掌声跟欢呼
Cycling
声好吗？
And there's the Italian flag on the
好，
podium.
现
Well
在
done,
呢
Vincenzo.
我们只是先这个献花，然后呢还有献这个奖牌，所以待会才是真正的颁奖。我们现在呢要有请
He's certainly
长
earned a
官跟
glass of
贵宾
grappa or
一起
two
来到舞台
tonight.
上好吗？我们有请这个我们的理事长，还有好我们东部的
技术组
的
组长
执行长，许执行长
组长
来到舞台上一起来合影好吗 ？OK。
好，我们冠名商的丢了严经理在吗？
And there's Haley Simmons.
Juro 的
So Haley Simmons was riding for the United find a comfortable position on the sponsored bikes, which sounds a real shame.
Good job. So everybody
Um,
thumbs up.
But yeah, she won the British National Time Trial
Nibali,
Championships
yeah, you are the
in
champion.
2015.
Woo!
She said,
Okay,
here she's finished the line.
Taiwan
Haley
KOM
Simmons, I do believe that's second place for the women. I will have to confirm that. But that's a great ride by Haley. Well done. So she's transferred that time trialing ability into second place in the Taiwan KOM Challenge. And there it is. There's that familiar gasping for air, the dry mouth, and the just exhaustion really. It kicks in with all the riders. I'm sure there's those of you, there's plenty of you out there that are listening that have completed this hill and raced the Taiwan KOM that know exactly what I'm talking about. The finish line is for a few minutes. But it's not too cold up here, so they should recover quickly.
谢谢
And your
谢
left
谢。
Get some
side,
food
your
down them.
left side. Okay, thank you, 谢谢。好，恭喜你们 ,congratulations, you are the
There's Nibali there on the
hero.
podium.
Wow, so nice. Riding so fast. I think only 3 hours.
They do
something.
like their photo
Wow, so
opportunities,
great.
I have
so
to say.
I think How do you feel, Nibali? How do you
Of
feel
course,
right
that's
now?
understandable when they're promoting Taiwan and they're promoting the Taiwan KOM Challenge.
More public for fantastic my name, and I win here for the sponsor, and Barre Merida is fantastic day.
OK， 他说最后2公里的时候，听到大家在为他欢呼，为他加油，然后一直喊他们的队名，他觉得很开心。他今天比完赛呢，就是觉得非常的过瘾。Congratulations, yeah!
I'm just trying to hear what Nibali's saying.
谢谢。那现在我们就接下来。
It's too far away. I'm very sorry.
谢谢大家，谢谢我们的长官贵宾。
那个我请问一下，女子组有回来几位了？
Just in case.
如果可以赶在11点以前，我们也希望可以播到 live 播到女子组。哦，只有进来2位，谢谢。
So there's Haley off to recovery, off to find her team car and her warm clothes, get a little bit of food. We do provide hot tea, that hot ginger tea, which I'm so fond of at the top. I have a bit of a punch up for myself, and we do supply them with a lunchbox to help them to recover. Of course, recovery is extremely important in any bike race. Certainly one of this length, but one of this duration, one of this altitude it's critical. They're gathering there at the finish line. Oh, that is the podium. That is the podium.
And
Simon Richardson of GCN has just finished. There's Simon Poole. He's just in front of me. He's hanging over his bike. He was quite exhausted, but he has finished. Finally, a smile on his face. I'll have to have a chat with him later and find out exactly how he fared.
The formal present ceremony will be held at Hualien parking lot. Attention, please.
Yeah, you can tell it's taken its toll
the formal
on Simon.
Ceremony we're holding at Hualien parking lot.
Quite good to see.
11:30 at 11:30. 好，我们所有的现场朋友们，待会11点半在昆阳停车场。
And one of our journalists has just come over to me, Kaylee Feds of Velo News. He's just come over to me, and I'll ask him to join us. Actually, we've got 7 minutes left. I've been a bit lonely here, actually.
待会还会有吕总的成绩，之后也会呢进行献花，还有颁发奖牌、完赛奖牌，然后还有支票。那再次提醒哦，正式的颁奖典礼在昆阳停车场的
So as we watch the images of the riders, Emma Pooley first in the women's classification, and Haley Simmons in second, and the riders in front of us coming over the line, I'm joined by Kaylee Fetz of Velo News, who just finished.
Yeah. Yes, just finished. I have no idea where I am in the field. I have no idea what really just happened.
You do know where you are in Taiwan, though, right?
I am at the top. Taiwan. I'm at the top of a very large climb, the largest I've ever done, and my legs at some point in the next half hour are most certainly going to be cramping up on me.
Right, you might want to get this jacket on here just to warm up. So we've only got about 6 minutes left, but I would love to hear your impressions. How was the start?
Well, so
did you have a tactic for the race?
I had semi-elite ambitions.
Semi-elite ambitions.
I had working man elite ambitions. Yeah, I had working man elite ambitions, and so I wanted to stay near the front. And the first 30-40 minutes after we turned up the gorge was actually relatively easy. And then I think it was Bahrain hit the front, and all of a sudden every single time it picked up, it was we did 350, 400, 450 watts, just so way too fast for me. And so I pulled the plug, I think, along with most of the working man wannabe elites around the same time, and rode with Simon from GCN for a while, kind of just tapping away. And then at the end here, there's just doesn't matter who you want to ride with, you're just going whatever pace your legs will allow you to go.
Exactly. I was saying that to other people listening at home. There's not this last section, the mountain kind of determines what you're doing on it. You don't have as much of a stand.
No, you really don't. And I was
nowhere to hide, is there?
No, and I came with a very low gear, and even so, those pitches were just, you're out of the saddle, you're barely moving. If you're in the saddle, your front wheels coming up, you're popping wheelies, you're popping accidental wheelies.
Yeah.
There are stretches there where I almost feel like the low gear just let me go slower. I should just put in higher gear and hoofed it a little bit harder.
You could tell
there's really nothing you can do in some of those stretches.
You could tell from the pros, and I've done this myself. If this climb was down at the bottom, you might be out of the saddle in those sections, but you're so tired by that point. Your arms are so tired, you're weak. I can tell you, by the way, you came in 50th place. So you edged out the top 50. So working man's elite, not bad. And your time was very good. It was 4:06:35.
All right,
That's
it
pretty
felt
respectable.
Quick. It felt quick at the bottom. I think that's probably what did us well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I can't. It would take another level from myself to stick with that front group for a little bit longer. And I think that would probably knock quite a bit of time off. But.
So did it defy expectations? Did it go beyond your expectations? Was it out of this world, or was it something akin to what you'd been told?
It was spectacular. It was. The only thing I've done that was anything like this is Hualien in Hawaii, and that just goes up the side of a volcano. It's not in a gorge, and so though it is beautiful and it is spectacular, it had absolutely nothing on this, and it was nowhere near as difficult. I have never experienced a climb like that, and I live in a place where you can climb for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Turns out climbing for an hour and a half, 2 hours is quite different from 4.
That's like baby champagne.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna have to cut off in just about a minute and a half. Just quickly, people out there that are thinking about coming over here and doing it, do you have a word for them?
Do it. Just do it. Yeah, I mean,
you will suffer.
You will suffer. You will absolutely suffer. Give yourself a week, half a week on either end, and do all some of the incredible riding that's around here. We've been riding around for a week and just beautiful roads.
And you barely scratched the surface.
Barely, I'm sure I barely scratched the surface. I mean, this event in itself is phenomenal, but as part of a week or a week and a half long trip, it would be cycling nirvana. It's amazing.
Will you be back?
Yes. Will you have me?
Awesome. I'm not so sure. We'll have to just check. It depends how tonight goes. Okay, guys, we have about just a minute left. So this was the Taiwan KOM Challenge 2017. Let me just round out the top 6 riders again in the men's classification. In 6th place, it was Phil Gaiman of the USA. Great ride by Phil. In 5th place was Edmund Bradbury. Well, let's face it, everyone who's ridden this race today did a great ride. In 4th place, Cameron Piper. In 3rd place, John Epson. In 2nd place was Oscar Puyol. In 1st place was Vincenzo Nibali. I think he might have set a new course record in 3:19:54.04. Not sure. In the women's race, we had Emily Collinge from the UK. We had Hayley Simmons from the UK. And we had Emma Jane Pooley from the UK. So it's a British top 3. So there you go. So I hope you've enjoyed this year's commentary. It was a bit patchy. There was a whole bunch of that car park, which was not that fascinating. I'm glad that you bore with me and my droning on about all kinds of things not actually pertaining to cycling. Next year we will iron these things out, and I hope you join us again for the 2018. If you can't get here in person, then please join us on the live YouTube feed. Thank you very much. Over and out.
All right.
Is there a fit? Oh.
So, you take something warm, huh?
Yeah.
Take something warm.
Try and slowly.
Oh God, I've never worked so hard.
Have you done that before?
Done what?
That.
Bike thing.
This climb?
No.
Oh. She's a journalist.
Yeah, I worked for time. I've never running. I've never ever had to.
It's pretty much the same thing for us.
I've got three mega jobs. Those are just ridiculous. Yeah. In running, I've never had to work. I've worked this hard in the national cross countries last year. When there were loads of Africans in Italian nationals last year, that's the only time I've worked this hard because I was like,
Okay, in the meantime, you rest yourself.
yeah, sorry.
Yes, I better not talk because you'll take your time. Have a rest and then prepare.
I have bad news for you. It
大
turns
会
out
报告，大会报告！宜兰女子队的陈思颖，请问您回来了吗？如果回来的话呢，请到舞台前方集合，谢谢。
Yeah, but like I earn £500 a month, and that's not enough to pay my mortgage. A little bit, but not. That's the only reason why I said I could do this funding, because I don't earn enough money to pay my mortgage. I know, obviously my mortgage too. Yeah. And I had to pay for installation charges.
Well, I work for ASOS.
Well, I didn't ask you to.
I don't have it. Oh, it's so sweaty.
Yeah, I'm wearing my special one. You don't have to, but this is my advice to you.
Yeah.
If ASOS giving any kind of money, to do it on the last meeting, I'm just my special. Oh, you have a winter. You need to know, like, at least
Well, I have a cap.
yeah.
Maybe I'll
I've got the dungarees twiddling down here. So you've seen the line first of the bike race. Wait, not taking it on the Someone, I think I was trying to go up with my bibs over my...
就先颁奖了。Nothing.
No, I think
Okay, ladies, you're wanted, eh? We'll talk business later. Discuss the sponsors later. Now,
真的，完全是从，因为我还追不到，完全是很少。记录是28啊，记录是3小时28，26，我。
按你说我要给你拍照，3个100块。
This is how I look after a marathon normally.
That's cool. You want me to? So is this okay?
他们要上去了吗？好。
If I wait for that, it needs sponsors. Sorry.
我已经跟你小号已经加起来，不能逗点，不能逗点。
那个音响室回来，我们要继续搬台湾前6，台湾前6继续在这里搬。还有你只数前3。
And I'm terrible in the front. Like the longer you can stay with people.
Yeah, I know.
Also, I can try you very hard.
Yeah.
I hope you don't get good at road
音响。
There's no chance. It's,
there's like something in my head that's like, it's the same as I only run uphill really race uphill.
Yeah, that's verticals.
I'm too
although I've discovered that I'm just over 30% because, you know, when you start using poles, but if it's about 10 to 25%, I'm actually, for a fat old lady,
You're
all right.
You're absolutely
for a fat old lady.
Oh, shut up.
You're like that.
Inspiring person.
No, I'm not. I'm probably 2 or 3 kilos.
Yeah.
But then I have the happiness from the cheese out. So
I want to run with you so bad.
I need to live somewhere that isn't Cambridge, I think. Why would you want to live in Cambridge? It sucks. A little bit.
小卢直接唱名了，我们都在等。
来强哥喝。
Yeah, I was like, just when I got to the stage, I was having my helmet on.
OK， 好，那我们准备来今天这个现场台上献花的仪式了哦。好，掌声对宾现场所有的媒体朋友们，我们再提醒一下，我们今天真正的颁奖典礼呢会在昆阳的停车场，在这边我们只是先做一个荣耀殊荣的 highlight 而已。OK， ladies and gentlemen, the formal present ceremony will be holding at Guanyang parking lot. Will be holding at Guanyang parking lot at 11:30. At 11:30. So now we are looking for the 好，我们接下来呢要进行的就是女子总排的这个应该算是颁发奖牌的荣耀仪式。我们现在为大家来播报一下。Okay, the third place goes to Emily Grace. Emily Grace, where are you? Emily? Yeah, congratulations, 4 hours, 12 minutes, 24 seconds, 99. Wow, congratulations. How do you feel right now?
Okay, 已经精疲力竭了。Okay, please come out to your podium. Wow, oh my God,
okay,
what a beautiful scene.
Your podium.
Yeah.
Wow, oh my God, what a beautiful scene. Yeah. And second place goes to Haley Simmons. Yeah, congratulations. Well done, well done. Okay, 为大家来讲一下 4 hours, 8 minutes, 55 seconds, 16. Okay, everybody. 接下来为大家来公布一下选手编号205，我们的 champion in 2017 Taiwan KOM. OK， 这是我们去年的登山后，本身运动细胞非常的好，还是高材生。他今天成功卫冕了 ，Congratulations to Emma Poli! Emma! Oh, wow! You work so hard, yeah. 已经剃退了。Oh, congratulations. You okay? Oh, and how about the time? 3 hours, 52 minutes, 35 seconds, 51. Amazing, amazing. 我们现在呢，就邀请我们的副局长来到舞台上，为大家来这个进行颁发奖牌，来请。哇哦！恭喜这3位，没想到他们这个速度非常的快耶，105公里，而且连续87 K 的爬坡，轻而易举就完成了。虽然已经剃退了，你知道他们这样剃退的感觉，可是竟然可以上到我们的 podium， 感觉就是非常的好。好，那直接帮我们献花好吗？来，有请。来，没关系，直接递上来，谢谢。好。OK， 那接下来其实最重要的是 我们要为大家来介绍 ，In this year is the first year because the price for male and female is equal. It's 500,000. Congratulations to Emma. 来，50万元新台币的这个支票。You are so rich. Okay, so take photo together. Take photo together. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful smile. Wow. 非常的开心耶！接下来我们邀请我们的理事长，还有执行长，还有我们的秘书长一起来到舞台上合影好吗？还有 Duro 以及Luxion 的连总一起来到舞台上，跟我们女子的冠军、前3名的冠军一起来合照。来，有请。这是一个非常美丽的画面，而且呢，真的是非常的厉害，挑战成功，这是我们女子。